Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. I'm stealing that right from Landon because I have really no great opener today. But hey, look, it is 11 o'clock, our time slot, but we have a new show for you today. Yes, a very brand new show coming at you. It is going to be a call-in show, very similar to Caffeine Corner, but a little bit more eclectic, a little bit more open, a little bit more topical, I guess you could say, Jesh. Would that be?
Ooh,
Topical
topical's a good word.
Topical is a very good word for me and my acolytes. As you can tell, I have my background, I have my halo. We have the wonderful Cheshire here, no longer the Cheshire. She is the artist formerly known as Cheshire Vic. And what we're going to be doing is maybe just saying a little bit. I don't know. I can't say it's innovative.
Burning.
Yeah, it's going to be this. It's going to be this. What we're going to do is this. We want you all to basically tell us what you want to talk about and what we're going to. Oh, by your green screen, by the way, it just totally destroyed that. It doesn't. It just washed it completely out. You can't. Yeah. But
That's funny.
Yeah, it just like it just went nothing. But we want you guys to actually ask us questions about what you want to talk about. It could be about anything. We don't care. We're just going to give you our snap judgment on it. We're not going to give medical advice. We're not going to give legal advice. We're not going to give philosophical advice. Don't take our advice. Actually, what we're going to basically tell you, because you're probably going to do something wrong with your life if you do, but we're going to give you our opinions on it. And by the way, in order to celebrate that, I'm not drinking caffeine because it's no longer Caffeine Corner, but I am drinking something more I don't know, cult-like. Somebody had told me to try this stuff. It's called Diet Shasta Grape. They said it's really good. There you go. And I said, well, I happen to like Diet Shasta because I've been drinking Diet Shasta Cola and root beer. When I go out shopping, I'm going to pick up Diet Shasta Grape, and I haven't tried it yet. I haven't even opened it yet.
Ooh.
Yeah. So you want to?
I do still have caffeine, but since it is no longer Caffeine Corner, I brought Pepsi.
That's yum. That's a lot sweeter than I thought it would be for a diet drink. This got no calories.
So if anybody's friends with anybody at this great place, get us a sponsorship because Steve likes it.
I will sponsor a lot of different things. I'm telling you, Diet Shasta, huge fan of.
If you guys see me looking down, it's because I'm watching you guys on my phone.
Now we can see it.
I've got the live chat here.
Yeah, now we can see it.
Yeah.
I would love to have the sponsor for those quinoa puffs. Those
I remember
African
you were
spice.
drooling over those.
They are delicious. I'm telling you, I couldn't stop eating them. They were so good. Yes.
I don't doubt it.
So,
See, Bunny Wabbit says that she's got Pepsi too.
Hey, Bunny
Cheers.
Wabbit. She's over in the other side of the world, if I'm not mistaken. She's over in the British lands. Yeah, if you guys notice, I did go with the British spelling with Snap Judgment. Now, there's two ways to spell it, with one E or two. I like this way.
The right way and the wrong way.
Well, no, this is the British way. This is not the American way. The American way doesn't
Which
have
is the
it
right
either.
way.
Well, you're not British. You're Canadian. You do not know where you're at.
But we use all the British spellings.
Yeah. How do you spell color? Do you spell it with a U?
America just for some reason doesn't know how to pronounce U's and tries to remove them from as many words as possible.
Oh yeah, it's simpler. Why not?
Is it? But you don't pronounce it.
Well, we don't say color. We say color.
Color.
Yeah. Not
right.
color.
It wouldn't be color.
It would have with a U in it.
No.
How do you say aluminum?
Oh, I still say aluminum.
Oh, okay,
aluminum.
So you're not that far gone.
Aluminum has been Americanized in Canada, as far as I know. Yeah.
And what's funny is it actually is aluminium.
Calls it aluminium. I think that there's like a couple of like higher educated people, like in college, that I had seen, like professors that were pronouncing it aluminium, but nobody of like my generation do I know pronounces it that way.
I don't either.
But we do all still
fine.
say the U. We do all still pronounce the U in about and out.
That's true. Yep.
But the Americans don't. But they haven't taken the U out of those ones.
Yeah, no, I think it should be aluminium technically, but hey, look, I'm still on the standard system. I don't even do metric. So. And by the way, fun fact: do you know how a kilogram is actually defined?
Can you say Worcestershire?
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
Isn't it Worcestershire sauce?
It's Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire sauce.
No.
Okay. But it's funny that a kilogram is actually defined by a weight they have at the I think is it the London Observatory or Standard of Measurements? It's under a belt. They have I think 7 of them. They have one main one and they have 6 others they use to test it. But the kilogram is actually defined to be this particular item. I mean, if this item disappeared, there's no such thing as a kilogram any longer. So it's kind of odd.
Oh yeah, that's right. They had to update it because
now they might be changing that.
It decayed enough that it changed the amount.
Yeah, there was something in it. I don't know if it was rubidium or something in it that for some reason when they went to go weigh it each time, all the samples they set on all around the world that was exactly the same weight, they all changed, and even the ones in the same area changed.
Worcestershire sauce.
So, as you guys know, we haven't advertised this much. We haven't gotten it out there. We don't really know how it's going to work. We just want to try different things, especially coming from our different perspectives. I'm usually the more evil, antagonistic, poopy head kind of guy, but I'm going to try to be the charitable one, the nice one. And then we have on the other side, she's not as nice as people think she is. I'm telling you, people don't even know.
I don't know who thinks that.
There's like one. Somebody messages me. Cheshire is so nice. No, she's not. Stop it.
Who told you that? I mean, I appreciate it, but look at what we're dealing with.
Did you see the person that said, when is Steve and Cheshire getting married? I'm like, how do you know we're not? Did we never said anything?
What?
Yeah. If we ever did or do or have, it's a prenup, I'll tell you that. Kino says hi. Hi, Kino.
Hi, Kino.
Uncovering Hypocrisy says, I was born in Worcestershire, Massachusetts, and I'm telling you it's pronounced Worcester.
Okay, I don't know if Massachusetts is going to be...
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
From somebody that had a lifelong speech impediment, this is bringing back my issues. This is going to give me PTSD right here. This should become a trigger warning.
Steve. Everybody troll Steve.
I was telling somebody the other night that I was talking to. You could probably guess who it was, but don't say.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was telling her that a long time ago when I was a kid, my dad had worked all his life in like fidelity stuff, stereo and VCRs and DVDs, and as you know, he has a bunch of patents for cassette retrieval systems and stuff. And for a Christmas present one year, because I think he was working at Video Concepts at the time, he bought me a tape recorder, a cassette recorder.
Ooh,
right? And as a kid, I'm like, this is magic, right? I had no idea at the time this is really a weird gift for a kid, but he bought me that on a microphone, and I was like playing with it all the time, and I was recording things and playing it back and just being mystified how this worked. But I recognized I hated my voice back then. And it wasn't until many years later.
At a young age.
Yeah. Did you have that when you were growing up?
I went to school for radio in college, so I got over that pretty fast because you have to do a lot of audio editing of yourself. So my voice kind of annoys me a little bit, but I just kind of decide not to care.
Yeah, that's about it.
I have this button I call the fuck it button. So I push, there's nothing I can do about it, so fuck it.
Well, I think most people are like that. And one of the experiments I've seen where people can actually hear themselves as other people actually hear them, other than recording. You take these big, cardboard cutouts things and you put them behind your ears like this. And it gives you, it gives you a little bit more the higher tones that usually are diminished because you're hearing yourself through the bones and in the facial structure, so it lowers your overall volume or tone. So.
Somebody said, Patrick in the chat said, kilogram is now measured to the Planck constant now, not a physical weight standard.
Yeah, I think they did try to change it. It used to be like a pound was defined to be some weird number in kilograms, right? Like, like 6.67 something or other. I don't remember what the number was, but it was defined to be that number. Like the speed of light now is defined to be a number, meters per second. It's defined by that. But I think they were going to try to do it in a more standardized way, in more natural units, and Planck units would be the natural units that they would naturally use because Planck units are, well, they're universal. If you're a million miles of light years away, a Planck unit for length is a Planck unit. I mean, an alien would be able to would know what that meant, right? So
should we explain how the show works by example?
Yeah, let's do it.
We have our first caller. Hello.
How you doing? I wasn't even paying attention. Holy crap, I'm the worst host ever. Hi, caller.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
Who's that?
Well, I just had to call in for one main reason. Being from Boston, it's Worcester.
Okay,
What's
first of all,
that?
you got to say it right, man. I'm going to tell a Bostonian how to say it right here. Okay, let me correct you and give my opinion on this, man.
I just did.
Boston.
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 Oh no,
Boston.
He's not telling you Worcester. He's telling you how to say Boston.
Yeah, how to say Boston.
I can see the skyline from my sliding glass window. It's Boston.
Okay, so I want you to say this. I want you to say take 44th Street, 33rd Street down to 4th Street and go down by the water and pick up the quarter.
Why would you?
Was that New Jersey? I don't know. That's more New Jersey, isn't it?
Yeah.
No. I'd tell you to bang a Yui and then hook a right down to the Packy so we could pick up a grinder and some sauce.
Ah, dude, I'm there. Let's do it. I love grinders.
I'm so happy.
You know what? I will probably be. There's a good chance I'll be in Boston this summer. So
after you dropped out the last time, Steve, we are expecting you to be here pretty soon.
Give me the place to go get the best hoagie. We're gonna have a hoagie. Or grinder. You guys call them grinders. I call them hoagies.
Do you guys have growlers in the States?
Yeah, growler. It's
For beer?
Don't usually. Yeah, they don't usually. They'll special make them sometimes, but they usually don't sell growlers at the store.
Right. We have like a good number of like local microbreweries around here that have started like hyping up the growlers, so that's been kind of entertaining.
Can you tell me what a growler is? Because for the uninitiated,
it's a jug of booze. It's like an amount.
What?
Yeah, it's a giant container of beer.
Oh,
yeah.
That sounds delicious.
So you know how it's like not quite as big as like a keg, but it's larger than a cask.
Yeah, Sam Adams put out some specialty growlers here a few years ago, and they would sell out within the first 3 hours.
Chat's asking you to if you can say "fuck the Yankees."
The Yankees suck. Fuck them.
There you
Apparently,
go.
that's a yes. So let's see how this actually works here.
You're born to hate the Montreal Canadiens, and you're born to hate the New York Yankees. Yankees suck.
I don't know anything about
That's
sports,
fair.
man. Yeah, if you want me to opine about something about sports, you're going to be severely disappointed.
This is. Do you know what teams, like what sport those teams play, Steve?
Well, give me the names.
Montreal Canadiens and the New York.
That's hockey.
Suck.
Hockey is the Montreal Canadiens, yes.
Yeah.
And the other one?
What was the other one? What was the name again?
Yankees.
Oh,
Yankees.
baseball. I know that much. Yeah, okay. I've got to level 1. I've answered the first question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You know, that's more than some I've ever done. So, yeah, but, sports has never been my thing, man. I don't know. It's just something I don't mind watching occasionally, but I got to tell you, I think what killed me is when they had all the the way back when they all took these. What was it? They all protested and they all walked and none of them wanted to play and whatever the hell it was. This was years ago, and I was just like, I just lost interest.
I just enjoy how many times. So the Montreal Canadiens are, surprise, surprise, from Montreal, which is in, surprise, surprise, Quebec. And I think one of my favorite things about Montreal and Quebec is that if the Canadiens win, there's a riot. If they lose, there's a riot.
That's sports, isn't it? I mean, some team has to lose.
That doesn't happen. That's only happened in another province in Canada one other time, and it was like way out west.
So let me ask you this, Cheshire. If both teams pray to win, and how does God decide which one to pick?
I don't know. You're God. How do you decide?
No, I'm not. No, I'm definitely not God. I'm just kind of a relation to Him. I'm just like an intermediary. I basically give you what God would probably think if you ask God.
So why are you asking me then?
Well, God likes to ask questions too. I assume too.
Notice only the winners thank God for the game. You don't see a lot of the losers sitting up at the podium thanking God for losing.
Well, they might go, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to play. No, they don't. They're like, damn it.
How could you? How dare you? I mean, I always wonder why sports teams don't start specifying around gods that are directly like more polytheism. Like, why wouldn't you choose like an athletic god? Like Conan doesn't pray to the god of love, he prays to the god of war. So why would sports teams not be honoring a god specified to?
Yeah, they should be like having Ares
sport.
statues and stuff everywhere. Praise Ares.
I don't know if it'd be Ares. It'd probably be Athena.
Okay, more Athena. Athena was more the god of the hunt, right?
Well,
but,
the Artemis
and wisdom.
But she was the one who brought sort of like something like the Olympics to.
Yeah.
So I imagine it would be Athena at least more so. Like there might be a different particular god that would work better, but definitely Athena over Ares if you're picking.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
The main pantheon.
Excuse me. So
you're not usually killing people in sports.
So did you have something else you want us to give our snap judgment on whatever you want us to opine about? Did you have a quandary, a moral quandary, philosophical quandary, a legal quandary that we're again not giving any kind of legal advice? Relationship advice. Telling you, man, you can't wait for me to give you relationship advice. That's golden.
Well, I'm married, so I don't know if that means I need advice or.
Oh, it means
not,
you need a lot of advice. Yeah, yeah. It means you probably need it more than most.
Because the person that didn't talk me out of it, obviously didn't do a good enough job. But hey.
By the way, this is recorded, and this will be used against you in sometime in the future for blackmail. Just FYI.
But I haven't given my name. So nobody knows
you
who
think?
I am.
Your wife will recognize your voice.
We'll play it for every Bostonian female on the planet, until one recognizes your voice. Wait till we get 1 million views, man. It'll happen. She'll know. She'll find out. I'm telling you.
But no. As soon as I heard you mispronounce Worcester, I had to come in.
Wait, me or her?
Both.
Both. Chess never does anything wrong. It's all you, Steve.
Well, I've come to reach that conclusion myself.
Finally, somebody who understands.
Somebody prays to the goddess of wisdom. That's probably wise. Very wise.
I am Ayun incarnate.
This is actually really good grape juice, by the way, people. Whoever recommended this to me, thank you. I don't remember your name. I don't remember who it was, but my apologies. But if I start my own cult and my own religion, this is it. This is going to be the drink of choice. So.
If you're married, chat says if you're married, you can give the advice. Would you like to give us any advice?
Yeah, hey, reciprocity here. We don't mind some reciprocation here. What would you give us as supposedly single people, hypothetically speaking? We could be married because we could be married to each other. Nobody knows. So
to relate this for some of the longtime fans, whenever you're in an argument with your wife, just assume that you're 95% wrong and 5% mistaken, and then you will have a happy marriage.
But and here's my thing on that. That doesn't just qualify for marriage or relate to marriage. That's pretty much any woman. Well,
the answer is that you know why that is, right? It's because if it's gotten to the point where the woman's brought it up, you've been wrong for a while, and it's just been more and more and more.
Yeah. Oh, and that's so true.
Another piece of advice: if she's bringing it up to you,
it's too late.
You didn't just do it.
Yeah,
she's had a few days to stew on it and go through the options, and then give you all the excuses, and she's still mad. It's like you calling into a radio show where they've had 8 hours to prepare for the topic, and you're trying to call while you're driving your car. You're done. You just admit that you're wrong, whatever it is, and just.
Well, that's why I had somebody the other day tell me. They said, well, I've never had a fight with my wife or something, and I'm like, just wait.
I've never had a fight with your wife. You don't have a wife yet.
Yeah, it's like the longer you I never had a fight with my ex. We were together 5 years until the last couple months. Then all of a sudden, the first fight we had was a doozy. And it's just like it all comes out, right? I mean, everything.
If you're not fighting, if you haven't been in a fight, it doesn't have to be a big blow up.
No,
it doesn't have to be anything big, but like little tiffs and disagreements and discussions. If you haven't had those, somebody is lying.
Yeah. That's about it.
But no, good luck with this new format. I like it, and I look forward to helping Steve pronounce words in the future.
I'm happy to be. I'm happy. Look, that's one of the skill sets I don't have. Terrible pronunciation. Let me ask you this before you leave, though. I don't know if you can see the outside because in the call thing you won't be able to see it because we don't have our cameras on there. Just to say bandwidth. But do you guys think that we should get the name of the caller, and I could add that in pretty quickly on the fly, and put the caller's name in? Would you guys like to see that? What do you guys think?
I don't mind if that would be on there. I mean, I think with just trying for someone that's trying to pay attention like myself, who's working and watching at the same time, just to kind of keep track of who you're talking to and the topic, and especially if they're talking in the chat as well. Then it kind of gives you a little bit of relation to where if they're continuing the topic within the chat, you can kind of help keep track of what you're looking at with them versus not knowing anybody and who's talking. Then you're looking at it as like two different conversations. You end up correcting them twice, or you end up agreeing with them twice, and it can cut down on some of the redundancy when it comes to following chat and call.
I think that's absolutely spot on. Well, I'm going to be adding that in.
I'm still not giving you my name though for reasons.
Oh, you can make up some name. We don't care. You make up some name, but I just know where I put it on my format here. Where am I going to put this?
When we say hi, who are we talking to? We are not asking for your legal name.
Yeah. You can say good citizen.
Your mom.
Bostonian.
Yeah, Seth, not from Massachusetts.
Oh, there you go.
All right, I think I can add this in.
I like that. Definitely not Jeremy, and who's definitely not from Toronto. I like your reasoning. I think that's a really good idea, but what I think is a bad idea is distracting Steve any more than he already is in general. Right?
I only can do a certain amount of limitations, limited things at once. I have limitations.
He's trying to type and look at something right now, and he just
you can see
I have a certain amount of limitation.
Right? You can tell. See? See, my brain doesn't think this way. It's very myopic. I'm very linear in my thinking. Actually, I'm not. I'm very scatterbrained. Yeah, scatterbrained. But all right, does that work? I think that'll work.
I don't know. Did it work?
Yeah, I've had to do some minor adjustments, but anyways, yeah, I appreciate the call. That was actually
allegedly Dave.
Allegedly Dave.
All right. Well, good talking to you guys. Hope I'll
thank
be
you
listening to the rest
kindly.
of the show.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much. Call in again.
Bye.
See ya.
And we should probably add at some point, if you find our advice helpful in any way, we are taking donations because we're poor.
Oh my god.
And that's and by the way, you can put it in the next show. If somebody actually took our advice and they come back next week and they say, "Hey man, we took your advice and it really worked," drop us a buck. That would be nice.
I'm looking forward to somebody taking, like, us giving two opposite kinds of advice and deciding which one of us they decide to follow, and then getting a follow-up call explaining what had happened.
Oh, that would be so awesome. Let's do this. Let's do that. That'd be so amazing.
That'd be great. I would be so happy about that. I mean, if you end up following our advice, leave us a comment and tell us which advice you decide to follow and why, and what worked and what didn't. Well, I love follow-ups.
Yeah, the why is important. The why, and don't just say because Cheshire is a woman. That's sexist, people. That gives me a disadvantage. You know? She's like, so. I got attributes. Might as well use them. I already told you the first two people that will actually find people to call in, they get free passes or lifelong passes to your OnlyFans. I think that's fair.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, she doesn't know about that. She hasn't agreed to that yet.
Yeah,
by the way,
he just told me about that.
Yeah, I really just did. I didn't write anything by her. I was like, listen, I'm just going to do this. Throw that out there as an incentive, because...
Let me just throw you right under the bus. Here you go.
And by the way, if you don't want to call in, we'll take things from the chat as well. I mean, if you just want to type something in the chat, that's perfectly fine as well.
We should probably be clear that the line is open, and this is the kind of conversation we're looking to have. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, or it can be something really complicated, and... either way it works, and it's a back and forth, right? We're not always just going to give advice. Sometimes we want other people's feedback and advice about what they know about, what they have to say about things, and that's always fantastic.
Can you read what Kim Momaki said? Because he summed it up perfectly.
Stephen Chesh give advice today. Litigation to follow. F in the chat. F in the chat. Oh no.
Kino says, "What is triple sec?" Because my neighbor bought a bottle for me. Triple sec is something you add to alcoholic drinks. That's usually used for mixed drinks. It's a very I don't know. Triple sec has like a what kind of flavor? More of an orange kind of flavor. I mean, it's not something you drink straight. It's you mix it with stuff.
Jamie Russell for 2 said ID versus SETI.
So you want us to opine upon intelligent design versus SETI? Is that the question?
What is? Yeah, I think so.
SETI is search for extraterrestrial life, intelligence.
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
Yeah, well, SETI at home, they used to have a thing called SETI at home. And what SETI at home was, back in the days where computing processing was important, it was tight, they would actually send out large chunks of data to computers all over the world. And people would use their idle time on their computers to process signals coming in on their computers and then send it back to them. And supposedly, if you were the one to get the wow signal kind of thing, you'd be all like, look, I was the one that found this kind of thing. Even though you didn't, your computer did. But that's how SETI was working, was using people's computers that called SETI at home. But I don't think the SETI project has really done much. I mean, it's nice. It's great. Some people argue that we shouldn't even look for extraterrestrials because if they know we're here, they're probably going to come wreck us and destroy us and take our resources, take our women.
Yeah, that's cowards talk.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either, probably. They wouldn't want our women. But yeah, I'm not worried about that. If that's our biggest concern, then yeah.
I found what Jamie said. He said premise 1, only legitimate science should be taught in school. Premise 2, SETI is based on good scientific principles. Premise 3, intelligent designs is based on the same principles as SETI. Conclusion, ID should be taught in schools.
Well, they're not, and let me explain why, and then Cheshire can weigh in. SETIs are based upon when we look for certain repeating patterns, certain things we know that would be only caused from an intelligence, right? If all of a sudden we had a signal come in and it was exactly the Fibonacci sequence, we know that would never happen naturally, right? But if we see a pulsar that has an off, on and off, on and on, on and off, on and off at a regular specific interval, we know that now is a natural occurrence. We know how those natural occurrences occur. So it depends, what the signal type we get is. But if we see something that is a non-natural signal, if I get a TV signal, I know that's not natural. But intelligent design has no comparator to tell us what is a natural design, what is a non-natural design, what is theological and what is teleonomic. We have no way to determine. So even if we saw something that was intelligent design as far as reality or the human body, how would we ever know? Because there's nothing to compare it to. We have comparators to other things, right? Whether it be mathematics or technology. But we've never had a disembodied mind do anything. We've never seen anything like that.
Oh, yeah, we have a sample size of 0.
Sample size of 0.
I think that there's an argument to be made for finding the remnants of or something that was designed intelligently, so we can recognize a pop can, right? Because we understand that we've created pop cans, so we don't have a sample size of 0. We have a sample size of us doing it. So if we were to find something like a pop can or a ruined civilization on another planet, we wouldn't get a signal back from them. But if we were to go physically see,
this proves God.
Nobody can see it.
You can see this. No, let me get it closer. Wait.
It's blacking out by the green screen.
No, it's not. Is it?
It is on my end.
Oh no, I can see it perfectly. So can you guys read this?
Chester, you getting destroyed by a green screen? Is that what I'm hearing?
Apparently,
she's getting destroyed by a green screen. Yeah, I'm having no issues.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Who do we got? Who do we have?
How
Who's
are
the
you?
caller? Give us a name.
This is OPT, man.
Yeah, I knew that.
How
OPT,
are you?
yeah, you know me.
Yeah.
I'm going to put. You're going to be the first name we put in here. Here we go. Not by your real name, by the way, but whatever. See if it fits. Yeah, that works. Oh, I got to do the transition now.
See, this is what happens when you get Steve to do more stuff.
I'm so proud of myself. I did. Can you do 95% of the graphics? Yes, I can. Eat shit.
Steve every so often regresses into a 12-year-old.
I do.
Hey, I think we all have that every so often.
Oh my gosh. First of all, how are you? How are you feeling?
I just finished my second stint in the hospital in the last 3 weeks. So
Yeah, but from what I understand, they're giving you good stuff.
yeah, it's so I'll just say it because I've already put it on Twitter. I've been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. I had my surgery the 30th, and then I end up back in the hospital because of blockage.
So yeah, it's basically been nurses and hospital food for the last 2.5 weeks. Thankfully, the hospital food here not bad.
Well, I gotta tell you,
That's good.
I don't know if I remember I told you or not. I think I did, but my brother passed away from colon cancer that metastasized to his lungs and lymph nodes, and they removed 6 inches of colon. But he did last 10 more years because of chemotherapy, and this was a long time
That's
ago.
long.
Yeah, so I mean, they've come such a long way. You said you had a small blockage. Did they give you propylene glycol? Because I talked about this, and you didn't answer me. I had propylene glycol.
So I'm going to ask again and assume that you're okay with me asking, and you didn't just answer me because you didn't want to answer.
I want to know.
Steve.
I want to know. Did you get the propylene glycol?
Needs this.
No, what they did to fix this is they stuck an NG tube up my nose, down my throat, into my stomach, and just basically pumped out all the stomach contents for about 3 days.
Oh,
man. And that alleviated the pressure in the colon, which actually reversed the blockage.
Do you know what bulimic can do that in about 3 seconds?
No. Yeah, I doubt it can.
Don't recommend it. I don't recommend this. Again, we're not giving any kind of medical or legal or
right.
any kind of advice like that. Don't do that. But
yeah,
it really
no,
took
but
that. Ugh.
Yeah, so the reasoning behind it is to basically kind of reset the internal organs, because there's multiple reasons why you might have a blockage like this, one of which being after having your part of your colon removed, your like small and large intestines actually kind of resettling your body, and it's possible that they kind of overlap a bit. So removing the pressure from your organs can actually cause them to reset.
Oh, okay, so it let them kind of resettle back in and start from zero again instead of starting from, part of me is missing, but I'm still trying to process.
If I understand it properly, yes.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, so the other things it could have been was, as I said, scar tissue, or one of the tumors could have actually been blocking it, which then would have required surgery.
Right.
But thankfully, we did not have that.
Good.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And on top of that, people complain about the covfefe test where they swab up your nose. You got it all the way up and all the way down, bro.
Yeah, and we're gonna throw this out there. For this year, nobody dies. We understand. Nobody dies. You're forbidden. Period. You just don't think about it. You're not gonna happen.
You do realize what you've just said, right?
Yeah.
It means that nobody's going to die, and then everybody who was supposed to die this year is all gonna die on January 1st.
You know. Yeah.
Why would you do that, Steve?
No, it sounds like you're on the mend. It sounds like they got it all, and it sounds like you're on a speedy, healthy recovery. People know Ruhif had cancer, and they got rid of it all. And I've seen the before and after. I mean, he literally came down when he had just after chemo, and he would look like death warmed over. And I just saw a recent picture of him. Yeah, he looks good. He looks really good. So
on the 20th, I go in to get my chemo port installed. And then, hopefully, and all of my doctors are pretty excited. It's not quite the word I'd use for it normally, but it's the only one I can think of.
Optimistic.
There you go. Optimistic. Thank you. They're very optimistic. Yeah, they're very optimistic because I'm only 39 years old, and the normal prognosis of like 2 to 5 years for what I have is given to people who are older normally. So here's the weirdest thing. My oncologist told me because I'm young, I'm in the demographic that may actually have a mutation in the cancer cells. And you hear that and you're like, well, holy crap, that's terrible, right? Well, no, as it turns out, no. He's explained that means we may have a mutation that we can exploit using chemo.
So something could attack those cells.
Right. Like, you want to tell me any other time in the medical field where the word mutation is a positive thing? I can't think of one.
By the way, real quick, Matthew Thomas says, since this is a Collins show, I think Judgment Call would be a better name. That's actually really good, but I like Snap Judgment.
Point.
That's good.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Good. I like that.
We can't use it. They spelt it wrong.
Yeah. Sorry. No E.
They only spelt it with 1 E instead of 2. They Damn it.
I mean, that's the version of the word we use in our courthouse. So
Yeah, and by the way, if we use JC, JC, it'd be like we're going to be GC everywhere, and that might be confusing, though.
I like that. No, that's even better. Then we can ride Jesus's tailcoats. I mean, I did already when we first started talking about this. I was like, we were talking about like the atheist experience and all that, and how we had problems with that show. And I was just like, why don't we just rip them off? Why don't we just do our own call-in show so we don't have to worry about whatever nonsense they're doing, and we could just do it ourselves. We made our basically. You have problems with this? Well, we're gonna make our own with hookers and blow.
Now you know what I'm thinking though. That actually is a really good name, actually.
Yeah, I like that. I think we should change it. We also talked about calling it the non-experience instead.
Oh yeah, no, we had. Let me tell you, this is all going to be a parody show at the beginning. I had done a lot of the graphics then.
So basically, OPT would have called in and said, "So you guys may know from Twitter that I said I have colon cancer." Steve would have said, "I don't believe you," and hung up the phone.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it would have been. Right.
I'm not convinced.
You didn't make your argument, OPT lawyer. I'm not convinced. I don't believe you. Goodbye.
Right.
You're not old enough to have colon cancer. I don't believe you. Click.
Right, exactly. That would have been the parody. So, like I said, I had a lot of the graphics done because 95% of the graphics. But then I got with Cheshire, and she took it to the next level.
I helped your graphics.
So nice. It really, the synergy was amazing because I knew exactly kind of what I was going for, and then using her expertise as an artist, boom. And I love this layout. By the way, if you guys even look at the little angels down there, I put a little gavel beating over the head. I love that. That's my little thing.
There's a little bonk.
There's a little thing. That's all. Everything you see in here is basically added on. It's all different graphical stuff. But yeah, I think you know what I do like that Matthew Thomas Judgment Call. I gotta admit, a good idea is a good idea, and I could redo the intro. Yeah. And again, this is a show intro to get ideas.
Right.
We might use that,
so to speak.
Yeah, right. We want you guys to. We did Caffeine Corner. We helped get the information out there and available, and get the conversation rolling. Mm-hmm. Now it's your guys' turn to have the conversation. So we had it. Now it's your turn to have it with us, and you guys are just getting invited into the cafe.
Yeah, and people like these types of call-in formats. I watch some of them. I used to watch
talking
more.
To the people. I love talking to you guys. I like Judgment Call though.
I like Judgment Call too. I was going to ask the audience, but fuck them. Oh, we're live. I'm sorry, guys.
We're sitting here talking about how much we love you and how we want to talk to you, and we want you guys to call in. But also, fuck you. We're going to use this guy's suggestion that it's also from the comment section. Talking about Steve's all over the place today. All he got was one additional thing to do, and it was add the caller's name. And
which
now
I
he's
did.
Just off
I managed to do it. But no, a good idea is a good idea. And it's funny. It's the same thing like when people have a good idea.
You need to center this.
It is centered.
No. You need to highlight the number and the pin and the caller name, and
I had to move it around because I put the caller thing in there, so I can fix that. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I'm just telling you. I'm just saying.
Thank you. I got it.
Gee, Steve, you didn't get that on the first try on the fly. What the heck?
There. How's this? Is this centered?
Yeah, we're failures.
Is that centered?
I don't know. It's going to take a minute.
It's going to take a minute.
I'm looking at it on my phone.
So I think we're gonna just do an audible, and next show we are changing the name to Judgment Call. I think that is, bro. You don't get commission on that, but we will give you appreciation, and we could probably give you a shout out in the video description for that.
Yeah, that is definitely a really cool name. So
a good idea is a good idea, man. I cannot just pass by a good idea like that. Thank you, Matthew Thomas.
Godless Scummer says we can't have anyone die this year. We've already had Keon be right on something, so no more shocks for this year.
I refuse to accept that, by the way. I refuse to accept that. My brain can't process something like that. It's just not a metaphysical possibility.
I'm so proud of Keon. So proud.
Little
boys growing up.
I have not watched his video. I don't intend to watch his video, and I don't care about his video.
His video got taken. He privated it anyway.
Oh, so his apology.
Yeah.
So he made an apology video to everybody, and then he privatized it. Okay.
He privated it because I'm pretty sure he privated it because of Menace.
Yeah.
No.
So JC, Judgment Call.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, right.
So real quick before I head off here, because I'm actually kind of exhausted right now.
Of course.
I am going to do every single thing I can in my power to stop my body from trying to kill itself, or I'm going to pump my body so full of radiation and chemotherapy that I'm going to become some kind of mutated superhero.
That's what, dude. If you get X-ray vision, you can fly. Let me know.
Yeah, so that's one of those two things are going to happen. But I can guarantee everybody here, one thing that isn't going to happen is I'm never going to give up.
Well, and that's how you got to look at it. That any cancer patient that has been through that stuff, I give amazing props to, because it's hell. It is hell. But as somebody who worked around radiation for a long time, I can tell you, you make it through. I mean, I worked around radiation for a long time, and look, my hand's perfectly steady. I'll be fine. So don't worry about. Oh, you can't see it, OPT, but
No.
yeah. I mean, I was around the secondary shielding for a very long time, and it had no ill effects on me. So whatever.
Steve is still getting used to the new format. He was around radiation a lot. He's a little bit older now. It takes him time to adjust.
This wasn't always gray. This went gray after my first tour.
Nice.
It almost sounded like you said whore instead of
that
tour.
Too.
I got with this chick.
No, that's what caused this to go gray.
One night stand.
Giggity.
But OPT, you know that we're here, we're around. There's a community that's here to support you. So if you ever need anything, you reach out and we will find a way.
In a heartbeat.
I really appreciate that. Like, the support I've gotten from communities, friends, has just been overwhelmingly amazing. And
You
it's
didn't
humbling too.
You didn't even know it was there, did you?
I figured I'd get like some. I didn't expect the amount of support that like I got, even just by posting it on like the Twitter for once. Like, the amount of people who have been supportive both publicly and privately is it's humbling. It's absolutely humbling, and I just want to thank everybody.
We have an amazing community. There's no question about it. I think this community is, you know, I mean, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, but nothing compares to the YouTube community we have. Absolutely nothing.
Free to Play said Steve worked with radiation and he was bald then.
Yeah. That's a truism. I had very short hair back in those days, yes.
If you get superpowers, though, you do not pull the dumb of most superheroes and do the secret identity stuff. That just does not help in any way, shape, or form. Tell your loved ones that you're a vigilante so they can help you and protect themselves.
Well, here's the problem. Like, I have to wear glasses because I can't see without them. So I can't do the pull the glasses off Superman thing. So, I'm already screwed on that.
Unless the mutation cures your eyesight. It worked with Spider-Man.
Well, oh, yeah, there you go. Right. Right. So that's my superpowers. I get 20/20 vision. Anyway.
You become Captain Obvious from South Park.
Right, exactly. God,
yes.
That's it. That's my next superhero in any superhero game I play. It's Captain Obvious. I'm going to do that.
Come back when you take some time off from the internet, if you end up needing to, or when you're cancer free. Just change your name to Captain like OPT Captain Obvious, and then just take that persona on from then onward.
Do it.
Well, what I was going to do is change my name to OPT and then a semicolon.
Yes.
Since, I'm already since they removed part of my colon. So real quick, everybody knows, at least I hope, that a lot of people know I've been like an advocate for mental health awareness and whatnot. Yes. I made the joke to my friends that I was going to get a T-shirt with a semicolon on it. Come to find out, that is a suicide prevention awareness like symbol.
Really?
Oh, that works out perfectly.
I didn't know that.
Then.
Yeah, because the semicolon goes where you go to sentence. Yeah.
Oh, ain't that convenient?
Right? So I'm like, my life keeps coming back to mental health awareness. Gee, maybe there's something I have to do here.
Well,
so
we are very pro that.
Yet.
Yep.
Yeah. So clearly I can't go yet because I still have to do this. So, I got a whole ton of work to do. So
well,
anyway, guys.
Support,
thank you, buddy.
You've got our love, and we'll be here if you need anything. You just reach out and let us know.
Absolutely. I love you guys. You guys take care of yourselves. Everyone out there. See you later.
Too. Thanks for calling.
And I'm glad this was a kind of a trial run episode before we started promoting this and all, because we're going to be changing the name. So now when we get the new everything together, we're going to be relying on the people to help get information out and get those numbers out. The people, atheist, theist, non-theist, non-atheist, non. It doesn't matter.
I'll sound a
we
little
don't
bit
care
better because I won't be on my laptop mic.
Yeah, she's on location. So, anyways, we have a new caller. What's your name, caller? What do you want to go by?
Carl Kristoffersson.
What we'll call what?
Carl.
Carl
Yeah, Carl.
with a K.
With a C.
With a C. Carl with a C. What's up, Carl? Did I get that right, Chester?
Sorry?
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Just want to be sure I got your name right.
Yes. Carl. Yeah. Steve, I really appreciate you and Chef doing this, and I'm getting a good energy. Just watching you guys having a blast over there, and thank you for all you have done.
No, thanks for calling
We
in.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting or hoping, I should say, because I think it'd be really funny if somebody who calls or has been a regular caller on the atheist experience calls in there, has the experience you expect to get over there, and then calls in over here to tell us about their experience over there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there's going to be some synergy between other shows. People that like to call in these shows, and we'll take all the callers. We're not going to go, hey, look, you're wrong. We don't believe you.
Well, it'd be really interesting to hear people's feedback and their experience and how they experienced over here, how they experienced over here, and how they experienced over here. Just asking the same question or bringing up the same argument. I think that'd be interesting.
Real quick, can you guys read the live chat on the outside? Is that? I mean, it's really small from what I'm seeing, but is it legible on the outside at least?
Yeah,
you can read it?
I can read it on my phone.
Oh, okay, then.
With it not large, it should be fine.
Okay.
So it was a little bit small, actually.
You
is it
found
a bit small? I'll boost it up next time. I'll add a couple points to the font.
But that's.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, AT2 said we don't want any random agnostics on the show. Fuck them.
Yeah, agnostics don't get to call in.
Yep.
That's true. I'm an atheist myself.
Oh, you're a proper atheist.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I ran a poll. It's so funny because I don't understand Twitter. I can post something that's, I think it's pretty witty. I'll get like three likes, right? I'll post a poll. I'll get 117 people responding to the poll. Still only get like 6 likes. It's like, come on, you lazy people. But I usually, when I run a poll, that I get a lot of people that weigh in on it, and I ask the question, what do you think is more convincing to a theist? Somebody who actually says God doesn't exist. Let me explain to you why. A positive, epistemic status, or a strong atheist, as some people call it, or somebody just says, "Look, I don't believe you, man. I just have a lack of belief." What's more convincing? If your goal is to change the minds of people, to change, how things are done, even in politics, what is much more substantive than the other? And
well, why should anybody care if you don't believe them if you're not willing to have a conversation about it?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
That's a fair point. I mean, it's a good point.
Thanks.
Thank you. We try. It's the first good point we've had all episode. We appreciate it. But yeah, no, I think it's very imperative that people that want to have these discussions and they want to have a dialogue about it, sitting back and just saying, "Look, I don't believe you," is not an argument. And the atheist experience to me is the agnostic's experience. They promote agnosticism. They don't really promote atheism.
It's not even good agnosticism, because even as an agnostic, you still have burden of proof, and there's still a conversation to be had. They're just the atheist experience of shutting down conversation.
Yeah, well, they had asked. I don't watch it, but some people send
how
me
to
clips
shut
and tell
down a
me.
conversation 101.
And I guess they had asked their audience, if atheists have a burden of proof, and like 4,000 people voted no. And I'm like, 4,000 people don't know shit about epistemology.
Good job. I'm glad that you're
yeah. So 4,000 people just said that your position is not rational. Good job.
No, it's 4,000. You've trained 4,000 people to respond to you in this way. which is incorrect.
Yeah, well,
Good
it's more than
job.
I've got. I don't have that many people that I've indoctrinated. I don't have that many acolytes. I've got a small following, and they, by the way, they probably won't even go out and buy this delicious Diet Shasta grape. I'm going to milk the shit out of this, even though I'm not getting anything out of it. It's really good.
Hashtag non-spons.
Well, eventually, they might recognize us.
Please put that brand as the first thing in the tags. Please.
They won't. Shasta don't care about us.
Just
that is good stuff, Shasta.
At them. Keep tweeting at them.
I did tweet. What was it that I had? There was a product something that I really liked. It was Special K Red Berry, and I told them, I said, do not ever discontinue this product. This is the best cereal of all time. And they Kellogg's wrote back to me.
Aww.
So, yeah, sometimes they do.
Steve talking about this drink is going to be like Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps and his love affair with trying to chase Wendy's.
No, it's really good.
I mean,
I think I like the. What's that?
Yeah, a big problem is, and also for me, I'm afraid of being wrong. I kind of want to be right all the kind of time, but I'm feeling a little bit afraid to say something and I'm being proven wrong. And I can change my position, of course, but it's something that you should. Yeah, I'm afraid of being wrong.
You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. I mean,
No.
we all have things we're wrong about. We get corrected. Big freaking deal. You get used to it, right? And most of us are wrong all the time about something.
The only way to never be wrong is to never have an opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's possible to do, let alone something you would want to do. But on top of that, I feel like with a lot of social media, particularly with Twitter and how toxic these kinds of communities can get and can be if you don't keep like an eye on it, you don't want to be treated the way they treat somebody they think is wrong because they're toxic as hell. Even when they're confidently incorrect about something, they're just assholes about it. And just because somebody is wrong about something doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean you need to beat them into the ground. And I think if we are better about the way people treat people in general on Twitter, that fear might be right now it's very much justified because you don't want to be treated like that, but maybe some of that fear might mitigate itself in a more positive community with more positive people being able and willing to have the conversations, because right now we're dealing with people who don't want to have the conversation but are trying to force a conversation and yell at everybody about the conversation they don't want to have.
Yeah, and they really don't want to have the conversation. I've seen people shut down conversations so quickly, merely because they're not willing to even entertain that they might be wrong on topics that they clearly don't know anything about. And that's the funniest part. Look, I know my subjects that I know a little bit about. I know the subjects I don't know jack shit about. You want to ask me about geology? You're going to get misinformation. I don't study it. I don't read about it. Not that I don't have an interest about it. I find it fascinating, but I don't read about it, right? So I have nothing to draw upon.
Inkboy42 says, please, someone make a brand, #bot sponsored.
Eventually, we might get a sponsor. I don't know how that works. I have no idea, but I just like shouting out stuff that I like. I have no problem with that. That's good. This was recommended to me. I wish I knew who it was though, but it's good. I do like the Diet Root Beer and the Diet Cola ones as well. So I probably like the root beer the best so far, but it's all good.
An intellectually honest person from 82 says, an honest person is never afraid of being wrong. I would venture to say they encourage the correction because that's how we can learn to be better. And I think there's a difference between somebody who's thinks something and is looking for feedback versus thinks somebody else is wrong and wants to engage in that conversation, but is afraid that either one, they don't know enough about the topic to engage, or two, are afraid of, even if they're right, the response they're going to get from people that disagree with them.
Yeah. I mean, you know how many times...
It's holding me...
No, go ahead.
For me, it's holding me back a bit. I mean, I'm feeling like I'm not going to be wrong in this one. I'm trying to build my confidence in a way, and often I'm having a good opinion about something, and sometimes I'm right, but not always, of course. But it's holding me back a bit. Also, I'm not raising my opinion and say, no, you're wrong, because I'm afraid to being wrong, so to speak.
Yeah, it's not, if it's just about being incorrect, it's really not that big of a deal. I'm wrong all the time, and half the time people don't even notice because you just take it as you go. So like people don't even notice how wrong I am most of the time because somebody corrects me. Like Steve will be like, actually it's this, and I go, oh, okay. And I just take it and go, and nobody really even noticed.
I'll be like, hey, I screwed up. Before we continue, let me correct this. Yeah, I mean, do you many times, I've had somebody tell me something and I thought about it and I'm like, good, yeah, I think you might be right.
The only thing that will give you a hard time is how you behave when you think you're right. If you behave in a way that's like arrogant or problematic or like douchey when you're correct, it makes being wrong that much worse because now you have to eat all of the shit.
I will have to eat so much crow if my wasp argument gets invalidated, and I'll be happy to do it. I'll be like, you know what, had a good run, but hey, somebody did it. Got to create something new now. But my wasp argument has stood at the time for well over a year and a half, 2 years probably. I've been kind of formulating it. Nobody's assailed it.
It also doesn't make you wrong about this other part of it, right? So just because you're wrong, like technically wrong or logically wrong, or there's some kind of error in one thing that you did, it doesn't mean that you're entirely wrong about the situation.
But don't you know if you're wrong on one thing, everything else you say in perpetuity is wrong?
Yeah, that's how that works. If Steve... no, that's only if you don't like somebody.
Oh. The nuances.
If Steve's...
nuances. Yeah.
Right. If Steve's wasp argument is wrong, it doesn't mean that he's incorrect when he said all these people were not able to invalidate it. So they were still wrong in their reasoning. They were still incorrect. So Steve only has to eat the amount of crow that comes along with the argument and what was wrong with the argument. He doesn't have to eat any crow for any social interaction he had about the argument, because in those cases, they were still unable to assail it. It's not like he didn't take the correction when it was presented to him.
Yeah, and by the way, the long form, that might be a problem with it. Who the hell knows? The short form, I think, is unassailable. I mean, the compactified version, I mean, it's just straightforward if then else. I don't know how anybody would ever assail that. But, I mean, the long form, maybe I did make a mistake. Who the hell knows? I don't know if anybody ever, bothers to actually go through it step by step, I think
it just takes practice. Just engage slowly on things that you're maybe not quite so passionate about, that you can, or engage specifically on things that you don't know about. And so if you engage in those ways and say, hey, I'm not too passionate about this thing, so I'm not too emotionally attached to it. And you can use that as a stepping stool to start to learn how to approach and how to be wrong about stuff you do care about. Because at the end of the day, being wrong isn't really a big deal. So you can just kind of get used to being, well, I think this about this thing that I haven't really studied. Tell me more about it. And then you'll be able to learn and change your opinion and kind of practice learning how to change from one opinion to another, and how to be right and how to be wrong and how to engage in that sort of a situation on things that you don't care about that much.
James the Atheist says, I think no judge would be a better name. No, because we're definitely going to judge. Yeah, we're definitely going to judge.
I'm judging Steve right now.
I judge her all the time. I judge myself. I judge you all. I'm a judger. I'm just a big judger. That's all I do. I just judge. But anyways, Carl, we appreciate it, man. By the way, do you call in the other shows? Do you call in the other ones?
Or did it work if I want to listen to you guys? Should I hang up or?
Well, unless you got something else to add.
Yeah. Actually, somebody in the chat is asking, what is it about being wrong that scares you?
In my line of work, I'm supposed to be right. I'm supposed to have the answers. Stuff like that.
Well, I mean, that kind of depends on your line of work. If your line of work is like a life or death situation and you're wrong about something, then there's going to be consequences and stuff like that you kind of have to deal with. But all you can really do is do the best with what you have at the time. And that's all anybody can expect from any human being. You're making the best decision you possibly can under the conditions that you're forced to make that decision off of. So one of the I was watching The Flash last night, the TV show Flash, and I was on like episode 16 or 17 So spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it, but Siskel gets kidnapped by some thugs, and he's forced to make a decision between give up Barry's identity or have his brother die. And so he gives up Barry's identity, and he is so incredibly upset and apologetic for it. And Wells is like, you've done and he says the same thing to Barry, you've done the best you could have possibly done in circumstances that are outside of your control. You're forced into this situation because it's your job or because some life circumstances have put you here, and you have to make a decision, and you'd rather probably not make that decision, but you have to just do the best with what you've got, and we're only human, and you need to recognize that.
That's her snap judgment, although it's going to be a judgment call. Reed Charbot says the atheist experience has been wrong for 20 years, never bothered them. Some good stuff. I used to watch the atheist experience back when they actually had actual conversations. Now it's not about conversations. Now it's about, hey, stroke my ego kind of thing. It's all it does.
It's important to treat yourself fairly. So if you've made a decision that you later down the line think that you shouldn't have made, you have some kind of regret maybe, or if you would have done something differently now, you still have to judge yourself based on the access of information, where you were at mentally, and all those factors at that time. You can't retroactively judge yourself with information you have now. It's just not fair to you because you didn't have, you need to be fair to yourself. That doesn't mean give yourself a pass on anything or everything. It just means that you have to sort of accept who you are as a person, understand yourself well, and learn yourself. And it's important to learn about yourself and who you are and how you react to things. So that way you can make good and better decisions for yourself in the future and judge yourself fairly. If you don't know yourself very well, how could you possibly judge yourself?
She's getting all deep and shit. She might be good at this. Yeah.
I think Chef's good at this, but
she could do the show by herself. She don't need me. I'm just here for eye candy. That's it. Yeah. I'll just set this up and let her stream. That's fine too. I really don't mind. She can do 95% of the work.
I really enjoy talking about people's thought processes and why they think this and why they think that and what a better approach might be for somebody to take, only because the thing is that as a person, you have value, and you ought to have the most value to yourself because it's you. It's your life. You should take care of that.
I think we have intrinsic value as humans. I do. You know, a lot of people say, "Well, we don't have any value to this value." I'm like, I don't see. I think we do have a value, axiologically speaking. But you know, because we are, you know, a sentient being. We exist for a limited period of time, and during that period of time, you make the most of it. I think there's value to have that, to appreciate things. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing a stream with the lovely Brittany Simon on spirituality on her channel coming up.
Oh, that'll
Namaste.
Be okay. I'll have to turn into that one.
Namaste. Yeah. So
that's gonna be good.
I should have told you. It spaced me off. She called. Well, she didn't call me. She texted me yesterday, and she wanted to do a collab on spirituality, and I'm like, oh, let's do this. Yes.
Oh, that's gonna be so cool. That's gonna be so awesome.
I love that. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
I am actually like a little bit on the negative side to Steve on that. I don't think humans have an intrinsic value comparatively, but I think we have a value empathetically. So I have a life and that person has a life, and I value my life, so I value that person's life because I can put myself in their shoes.
And by the way, there's no right or wrong answer to that. It's your view, that's all.
As a species, we sort of value ourselves because we can empathize that I wouldn't want to be in the position of that homeless person. So I value that person's well-being because if I was in that position, I would want some kind of help, whatever. And I feel like my life matters because it's mine. And so I would want somebody else to think my life matters because it's mine. So I'm going to help this person out. Like, we're very empathetic because we're very social. We're also just kind of stupid. So we're not very good at resource management. Yeah. And that's why things like that happen. We're also selfish douchebags, and we should probably stop being selfish douchebags.
Does that work for you, Carl?
Confused.
Sorry, what?
I'm confused, but thank you for your answers.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, we have a chance to do that. We'll confuse people.
No, sorry, just kidding.
I got kind of complicated.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Call in again if you end up thinking it through and let us know what you come to, or leave a comment.
On the plus side, I'm calling from Sweden, and give you guys a big thumbs up.
Sweden is so, I love Sweden. Every time I read about Sweden, I'm like, you're doing it right.
Sweden, not Switzerland, by the way. I was on Drunken Peasants the other night, and I guess one of the guys that they do a thing on, he always confuses the two. Sweden is not Switzerland. Different. No. Completely different.
Very, very different places.
Yeah. All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
A couple of questions in the live chat that I think are pretty good. One person asked, what do we think about polyamorous relationships? I actually have a video on that, as a matter of fact. I have absolutely no issue with them. I've never been polyamorous. I can barely, handle one. Why would I want more? Why would I want? It's too much work. But I have nothing against them. Each his own, right?
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was answering a question in the live chat. That's all.
Yeah, we were just talking about the live chat.
Listen to you guys.
Yeah, if you want to just hop,
or do I hang up?
You hang up and just head back into the chat, and we can see you in there.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Do you have any advice on polyamorous relationships?
Like advice, or what I think of them in general?
Both, either or.
Either or. Well, usually my advice when it comes to relationships is communication. The most valuable thing in your relationship is being able to communicate and learning how people communicate and having as much understanding of each other as possible. If you're in a relationship and you don't think the person who's talking to you the person is trying to communicate with you is being honest or is assuming the best of you or the best intentions, like you have the best your desire for what is best for the other person is the utmost importance to them when it comes to that kind of a relationship, then I think that you may have to have a more difficult discussion. That needs to be communicated, and they need to convince you that they in fact are, and you need to convince them that you in fact are. Because if they're not convinced of that, why are they in a relationship with you if you're not interested in what's best for them? When it comes to a polyamory sort of situation, I think it kind of depends on what kind of polyamorous relationship you're having. If you're having a relationship where there's I'm going to keep numbers small. It's not exclusive to this small number, but I'm keeping it small just to keep it more simple. Is if you have 3 people all in a relationship together, or if you have one person in a relationship with 2 other people. So these 2 people are in a relationship, but this person is in a relationship with that person and that person. That forces these 2 people to be in a relationship of some kind, though not the same as but it's not the same as if all 3 are equally invested in a relationship together. Right?
Yeah.
You need to recognize that these are different things and set your expectations as such. Because I know it's very easy to get confused, or it's very easy to think that, well, I'm in a relationship with this person and I'm in a relationship with this person. I just expect these 2 people to get along when they have to. That they're not agreeing to that necessarily. So that's going to be a thing that you're going to have to communicate and explain and deal with as it comes. And if they're not compatible, you may be in a position where even though you're compatible with each of them, they may not be compatible together, meaning that you can't have that sort of V-shaped relationship with those 2 particular people.
We had something like that back in my day, but it was called something different. We called it college back then.
No, right. I don't.
I'm old. We had weird terms for these things.
I have no problem with poly relationships. I see absolutely zero reason, as long as there's no coercion and all consent is there, that people shouldn't be able to get married to whoever, to how many people they want. I see no issue with this whatsoever.
All right, so let's think about this. So
why not?
So a person who wants to get married to an atheist, and a person who wants to get married to a rock could get married to a rock atheist. Or a rock that's an atheist, right? I mean, you can marry a rock.
As long as the rock can consent, I have no problem with it.
Well, they didn't say no. I mean, that's,
That's not consent, Steve. It didn't say yes either.
Yes. Silence is not consent. And, they're trying to, what was it? They're trying to pass a law that, you showed me this. You know what? We'll save that. That law that you were trying to show me that I was like, this is from The Onion. Is this from crack.com? Is this from like, some like like parody site? Inkboy for €5 says, Sweden is not Switzerland. What next? Lithuania and Latvia are different countries? Well, how about this? How about this? Constantinople and Istanbul. Oh wait, they're the same country. They're the same.
We all know that Latveria is actually the best one because it has the best leadership, and that's because there is only doom.
Yeah, my dad gave me sage advice years ago.
Did you get that?
No, I've heard it's from it's some show, right?
Well, it's Dr. Doom from Marvel.
Dr. Doom,
the fictional country that he presides over is Latveria.
My dad always told me, he said, look, secret of success and happiness in life, you find a woman that can cook, clean, and great in bed, and then make sure that all three of them never meet.
Yeah, there you go.
By the way, we're not politically correct, so
I don't imagine that would go so well for him.
This is not Talk Heathen, and by the way, unlike Talk Heathen and Truth Wanted and Atheist Experience, it is mandatory for our mods at least once to compliment on the looks of the host. We don't mind.
All questions must be formed of a compliment.
Yeah.
But I think polyamory is perfectly well and okay, and there's no problem with doing anything like that. I see no issues. I just think that communication is difficult and complicated, and you need to understand yourself, and you need to be able to communicate yourself to other people. And if you don't have a good understanding of yourself, how can you expect other people to be able to understand you when you're the one trying to explain it to them? Because you're the only one who can explain yourself to other people.
By the way, I put the direct link to join in. If you don't want to call, I'll give you. There's a direct link in the live chat. You can. Nobody's going to be showing anyway, so it doesn't matter.
You should pin that to the top.
Oh, I can do that, can I?
Yes, you can.
I know how to do that.
I also think there's a. I also think that I kind of understand polyamory in the degree of why would you put all of your expectations for a relationship onto one person? Depending on what your expectations are, that might be too much for one person to handle. So when you can spread that expectation out to multiple people, and multiple people can then support each other in ways that one may be able to and one may not be able to, you can kind of form a functional family style unit that ends up being an incredibly strong bond because everybody wants what is best for the other people in the relationship, and they're able to communicate that. And so as long as you're willing to sit down and listen and take lumps when you need to take lumps and give lumps out when lumps need to go out, but it's all still sugar, you've got something special on your hands. That's
Mr. Serious says, I think you need a new graphics guy. I think Mr. Serious needs to lose his wrench. I said compliment the looks of the host, not denigrate the work that went into this. By the way, both of us worked on this, Mr. Serious. We both did the graphics. It took a lot of time to do this. Actually, I'm not even fronting. We spent a lot of time in detail on this. Everything in here I can move around. So,
we're both fired.
Most things
Feels bad.
You know what?
Did you guys notice I have a fancy lady?
First episode and you're already replaceable, Chesh.
No, I mean, I kind of expected that. It doesn't matter, though, because I own it all. So even if you replace me, I still get all the revenue.
I had somebody mention, they're like, where's Vic? And I'm like, she's changing. She's evolving. This is like Cheshire 2.0.
Oh, yeah. So I've gone from Kyle 2.0 to myself 2.0.
You're coming into your own, right? Yeah.
I'll call that an upgrade. I'm no longer just a Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm no longer
the bar's
just a
low
Kyle
on that,
replacement.
Chesh, but yeah.
Listen, I'll take a low bar when I can get it.
So we do have the call lines open when you have the link pinned to the top there. So, and I have full control of it too. So like powers.
We are past the hour mark though. Do we want to keep going, or do you think this is?
Well, yeah, we're only going to do this for an hour, but I mean, we'll keep it open for like 15 more minutes if somebody else wants to join. We'll see. But
if Mr. Serious has the balls to come in here,
the cojones. You got cojones. You got cojones.
He can tell us exactly how to fix our graphics.
I just got to move that 95% around. Where do you see 95%? I don't even have any of that on there.
Yeah. I'm just teasing. Although, of course, he is welcome to call.
Yeah, well, the link's
And
right there.
he's also welcome to give us advice on the graphics.
That we won't take.
I'd be fine with that.
Hey, we'll take a good advice. We're changing the name of the show because Thomas, was it Michael Thomas? He gave us good advice.
82 said not all upgrades are improvements.
I'm not an idiot. When I hear good advice, I hear good advice. I mean, I try to associate with people that are intelligent, right? I mean, if you're not the dumbest person in the room, sometimes you won't learn anything. You know, I want to be around people that know more. That's kind of my shtick.
The bar is low since I'm here. Hello.
Yeah, no, like I said, we did work together on this, but she took what I had and she elevated it, and that's like elevated. And I like that.
Yeah, Steve sort of brought the concept to the table, and then I worked with him to sort of make it work and look better. Like because the concept was good and the rough was workable, but it could use a little more pizzazz.
Yeah, what they call it, not detailing, but ambiance. Yes.
Yeah.
So, hey,
Hello,
Mr. Sirius got some
caller.
balls. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who's on the line here. Who's on the line here? Can you at least give us your name?
I'm just some old lady. I don't know who I'm calling. Who is this?
How's it going, my dude?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. How about you guys doing?
Well, it'd be better if you could tell us what you want us to fix on this.
Oh, I don't know. I was just busting your balls.
You suck. Keep you around. Why?
Because he's funny.
Oh yeah, he doesn't get paid to be a mod. I'd be appreciative, you know.
It's volunteering his time to support us, Steve. Stop being a dick.
So
I try.
Throw something at us. What do you want us to opine about?
I honestly, I've had a few things that have been like mulling around in my head, but nothing really of that like detrimental. I've been kind of thinking about things that people might be too afraid to talk about, because like that actually kind of came up before. Somebody had mentioned something before about things that they would be afraid to talk about because of a reaction that they would receive for even bringing up like a subject or something. And I'm not certain, like, and I know it's even hard for me to talk about this. Like, I'm not, this isn't, like, I don't even want to bring up stuff. Like, there's some things that I don't even want to bring up because it's so hard to get into certain topics, because some things can get so taboo sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. You know us. We're pretty whatever about it. There's once in a while where we have to be like, okay, listen, if you're talking about Holocaust denial, we might not want to have that conversation.
Yeah, I've already said this. For certain topics that are off the table for very good reason, right? I'm not going to entertain Holocaust deniers. It's not.
But there's also a difference between acknowledging that they exist and talking about them versus running their arguments, though, right? So there might be some give and take with stuff like that. But I mean, for the most part,
we know they exist. I mean,
you're not gonna porn bomb us, right? We should be fine.
Yeah, well, they can't.
Yeah, I don't plan on doing that.
I'll be 1 second though.
The way we're doing the video here, that would be impossible. And AT2, I like your idea. The way I do that, have that graphic, that's actually an asset. What I would have to do is I would have to like somehow edit that asset and then flip it. And I don't know if I could do that. I'll give it a shot. It would look kind of cooler, but that way the graphics done, I don't know if it's possible, but I'll check into it. AT2. Gives me something to try. But yeah, Mr. So I agree with you. There's a lot of people that have taboo topics, and look, I get it. When you're out there and you put your opinions on the internet, and I've done this for 8 years now. It's on there in perpetuity. It's on there forever, and people have gone back on my videos 5, 6, 7 years. Look what Steve said back here, and I'm like, yeah, well, what's the big deal? I mean, and sometimes I'll say, yeah, well, I changed my mind since then. That happens as well. But factual facts are the same, right? 1 + 1 is still equal to 2 7 years ago as it is now. Nothing of any consequence has I've changed my opinion on. And I could, but there are things that I've changed, subjectively, I guess you could say.
You're right on that. I don't have any contention when it comes to factual things. Those things I am like steadfast. That's all like plain and good. I just have not had any real movement on my thoughts about that stuff. It's more like social things. Like, for instance, this is one thing that I've heard. I've heard this a lot, but I've been thinking about it because I'll just go over things in my head a lot. because I'm just working things through, I guess, my sense of empathy, and things bug me, and I just can't help it. Because of things that I hear from my family and where I live, and people just think differently out here, and I just can't help but I can't just default and into thinking that everybody I live around are bad. So I have to give everybody a grain of salt, regardless of the stupid crap that they say.
Yeah, well, that's this principle of charity, right? And we've discussed that before. But you're right. You can't think that everybody on the planet and everybody's stupid and everybody's inept and everybody is a piece of shit out to get you. Now, a lot of people are, and the internet fosters that because it gives a platform to anybody that wants a platform, right? So there are people out there that all they do is spew bullshit. All they do is they spew nonsense, and they're proud of it too. As Cheshire says repeatedly, they're confidently ignorant, right? But they don't care.
I'm back.
What?
I said, hello, I'm back.
Yeah, well, welcome back.
All right.
And it's a shame because you know, they're not the people out there wanting to have actual discussions. They're not the ones out there wanting to learn about anything. They're just out there to bust your chops. They're just out there to bust your balls.
They're out there to prevent you from being able to have those
conversations
with people who do want to have that conversation.
And God forbid if you do. I mean, remember, somebody had mentioned earlier that they stopped watching the Atheist Experience back when with the whole rationality rules kerfuffle happened. And that was a discussion that had merit to be talked about, but nobody was willing to do it because it was so obfuscated by rhetoric and other things that the discussion never got done until a year or two later. Then were people having discussions. We managed to do on this channel as well, and it's a very good discussion.
Sometimes it's reasonable to let people calm down before having the discussion, because then people have a cooler head about it. People are, and that happens like in your day-to-day life. Like, you don't want to, you pick and choose your times when you go to your boss to tell them that something went wrong with a project and talk about how to fix it. You don't do it when he just like is already blowing up about everything, because he's not going to be very receptive to whatever the problem is. So there's a degree of understanding that sort of things like Twitter or Facebook are essentially an organism made up of, it is basically an organism made up of a lot of smaller organisms, and it makes up a person that has basically bipolar disorder. So you have to sort of be sensitive to where it may or may not go and how vitriolic it may or may not be about a subject until it's ready to have the conversation, if what you're trying to do is have that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, well, on Twitter, somebody had, I think it was Conceptual James, that something like it was like SJWs are just a bunch of it's a collection of mental illnesses with a big vocabulary or something, you know. And I thought that was hilarious. I was like, yeah, well, you know, it's kind of like that. A lot of these people, they have, you know, something about them's not right, but you know, some of them might have a bigger vocabulary to go out there and. The biggest thing I notice is they want attention, and I don't mean in a positive way. They want this persecution porn. They thrive on it. I mean, the amount of persecution porn that I've seen on Twitter is unbelievable. It's mind-boggling how much they like. You know what? Woe is me. There's something person said this about me, and it's like, no. First of all, they're talking about your arguments, and if you can't handle having a refutation of your arguments, then why bother having arguments? Suck it up.
Sometimes it's an excuse.
Yeah, but I think it's an excuse because they want the negative attention. I've seen this countless times.
Or they want to direct negative attention at something that disagrees with them.
Sure.
Yeah. I see a lot of that, but also I see that people. I mean, I see this. I don't think that this is happening dishonestly, but something that I see that I think is happening with good intentions, but it's happening. As a detriment to the entire thing is that people aren't able to have discussions because they are assuming the other side can't do the discussions.
That's probably...
Usually you can tell that by demonstration.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like this. If you assume the other side can't do discussions because they won't, and instead it's because they might just be dumb, then it might be a different situation.
Oh, so you're talking about the people who are just ignorant and people who are willingly ignorant.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. Yeah. There's a huge difference. Like, if you get into like a discussion on economics, I'm going to suck ass. I'm not going to sit there talking about capitalism versus Marxism versus I don't know anything about those topics to really have anything to weigh in on whatsoever on them, right? But there are a lot of people that are very well versed on, labor relationships and labor laws and productivity and workers and land and all the things that go into those things, and they love those types of discussions. And more power to them. I'm ignorant of those things, and I fully admit that. I would be inept to have those conversations. But I'm not going to stop people from having them. It's just I'm not going to opine upon them, right? I'm not going to talk about things that I don't know. Unless you ask me, then on this particular show, I'll tell you what I think, but it's probably going to be stupid.
One of the easiest ways to tell that you're not going to be able to have a conversation with somebody is about whatever topic. It doesn't make them a bad person. It just means they're not ready to have this conversation yet. And this will prevent you from either getting too invested, so that way you start getting frustrated. It's a way to help avoid that on all sides, so that maybe you can come and have the conversation later. And it's when somebody says, they openly admits, I don't understand this, you explain it to them, and then they argue with you.
Which happens a lot on Twitter, right?
Happens all the damn time. So it's like, I don't understand this. And you say, okay, here's an explanation. And they start arguing with you to say that you're wrong. Oh, but what about this? Oh, but what about that? Oh, but what about this? You're missing the point. You've gone off into the brushes. If you want to come back and bring back that topic, that understanding, then it's one thing to ask, it's another thing to argue.
Well, how about the person who becomes the expert?
Right.
I mean, within 5 minutes of never heard of something, like literally, like on Twitter the other day, somebody had never even heard of possible world theory, and all of a sudden, within an hour, they were the expert trying to tell me I was wrong on it. And it's like, well, look, I'm not an expert on possible world theory, but I'm the one you were asking questions to. I'm going to explain these things to you, and all of a sudden, you're telling me I'm wrong about something you hadn't even heard of an hour ago. That seems odd to me.
Yeah, it's just a good way to tell that somebody's not ready to maybe listen. Might be the.
Some people, like, sometimes somebody will say something to me, like if somebody said possible world theory and I never heard of the phrase, like I might know something about some of the stuff that goes into it, and I might have a thing I might want to say about this stuff that's in it, but I might not know the phrase, and I might say I have no idea what that is. But then if I have something to add to something that you're saying in it, then it's not like, you know what I mean? It's like, just if I don't know your terminology, doesn't mean.
Yeah, there's a difference between not understanding jargon and not understanding a concept, right?
Yes.
So you can understand a concept, but be like, I have no idea what the terms you are using means. And so when they say, oh, here's the Steve does this all the time. He'll use jargon, and I'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He'll explain it. I'll be like, oh, yeah, I know what that is. Didn't know that's what it was called, but I just say that.
But here's the thing: do I tend to use jargon that I can't explain if somebody asks?
No.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I go out of my way to make sure that if somebody asks me the jargon, I'm at least going to have a reason. Most of the time, there's certain things I'm like, maybe I can't explain this as well as I thought of, but very, very rare. I try to use terms that I can actually explain to somebody if they don't understand. But when something like possible world semantics or something like that, and possible worlds and impossible worlds, and what's contingent, what is necessary, modal logic, and this person's never heard anything like that before, and they're like, well, how prove that it could be in a possible world. Well, here you go. Here's an actual valid sound proof. It's like you asked me to prove something I did, but you're not understanding why it's a valid sound proof.
No, that's wrong, because
how you tell me it's wrong, right?
You're trying to talk about a topic that requires this much amount of education with this much amount of education on the topic.
Yeah, well, Kibomaki points out Wikipedia makes everyone an expert. Exactly. How many people have seen this happen when you talk about ad hominem fallacy, straw man fallacy, and argumentum ad verecundum, which appeal to authority fallacy? How many people get those right? And how many people have explained to other people you're not using these fallacies correctly? You can go look at a book on fallacies. You can go look on a book on logic. You can go take a course on these things. All the sources will tell you that some of these sources only have a very generic explanation, but they're missing some key principles about it.
It's Dunning-Kruger fallacy is what it is. It's people think they understand the fallacy because they read a graphic about it, but don't know how to apply the information that's in the graphic because the graphic is either incomplete or it's not detailed enough in giving it an explanation. And so but the only thing they've looked at is the graphic because they're lazy. I don't know.
Inkboy says, talking about economics, when's the next episode of Over and Under? You know what? Get on Atheist Pastor. He's been busy. He's been doing a lot of stuff. We want to. We enjoy doing Over and Under.
Go bother the busy guy.
But go bother him. Go bother him. It's fine. He likes that. But yeah, ask him. I don't know. Like I said, he's been really busy. But let him know that you want to. Yeah, let him know you want more of it. We had talked about doing it soon, but he got wrapped up some other stuff. So, but I know he wants to. He likes that show.
I think what Mr. Serious is getting at, though, is that it's hard to recognize when somebody is honestly stupid, like they just honestly don't know, or are honestly aren't able to know, or are Mario.
Yep.
Is somebody playing Mario Maker?
No, actually, that's my ringtone.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute. And whether or not somebody is being ignorant on purpose. And I think probably the best way to suss that out is to just start by asking questions. So if somebody asks you a question about something, respond by asking, how much do you know about this subject? So that way if they freak out and be like, well, how could you, you already know you're wasting your time. This person is not interested in conversation. They're just trying to ask questions they're sea lining. If they respond to you with, well, you're just patronizing me. No, some people might honestly feel like they're being patronized too, and you can respond with, no, I'm trying to assess where you're at, so I don't patronize you by telling you stuff you already know. So I don't know you. I'm not familiar with you. Can you tell me what information you do have so I don't waste our times? Usually from there, you can start to suss out who's willing to put in effort and who isn't willing to put in effort. And if they're not willing to put in any effort to you, why should you put any effort to them?
Yeah, well, they think that they owe you, or you owe them, to spend 5 hours of your time giving them, an entry level education on some of these things
that they don't even want, that they're not even going to listen to.
I have a little bit of pushback, and that's only because of some recent things that this is like epiphanies, I guess I've reached.
Sure.
I feel like the world has kind of become a place where it caters to those who are closed-minded. It's like we're a game show world where it's like, oh, you got the right answer, yay! Don't be wrong. If you're wrong, you're off the show. You won't ever celebrate being wrong, and you'll never be able to be proud of it. Don't come out from behind the curtain if you're wrong. Not allowed. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, it's like, people should be okay with being able to be wrong. People should not be ashamed. We should be able to explain it. It shouldn't be an embarrassing thing.
You just go, hey, yeah, let me rethink that and take a different approach. What's so hard about that?
People make a big deal out of nothing, or they make a big deal out of a misunderstanding.
But that's not going to happen if, when people come out, they don't, like, I can't grab them by the hand and be like, look, guy, like, it's okay. Like, as soon as they start acting that way, I can't just shut the door and be like, screw you, go back to your game show world and keep acting the way you're acting. I have to be part of the solution. Somebody's got to start fixing it.
Well, the thing is that it's not something it's something that is a societal problem. So it's not something that you as an individual can do anything about. It's something that comes with practice. Social media is still a very new experience, especially to the degree that we have it. The people who are adults and running things right now don't even know how it functions, which is why we have so many problems in Congress, right? Congress doesn't understand technology, so they're not very good at preemptively making laws or even deciding on laws like net neutrality now. But in like 10, 20 years, you'll have people who actually grew up with the internet making the laws about the internet. So they'll have, with any luck, a better understanding of how it works and how it functions, which means that the people who are on Twitter, who are like the soccer moms of Twitter, who are like those, I'm bored at home because I'm a housewife and don't have anything else to do, so I'm just going to be a crazy person on the internet. Yeah. Those people won't exist anymore. Those are people who didn't grow up with the internet. Those are people who did not have the internet and are now having a new toy to play with, and they don't actually understand how it functions. But as we kind of roll over the next generation or two, you'll have people who have grown up with it who will have a better understanding of how to behave and how to interact on it because they lived with it. They have that understanding, they have that knowledge, they have that know-how, and they grew up learning those tools and those skill sets, which this other group didn't. So now you've got people clashing because you've got a group that doesn't learn, doesn't want to learn, clashing with people who have grown up with something who had no choice but to learn it. So you've got and that, like, that push and pull is always going to be there. And like in some ways, the older generation is going to be correct in some things, and the younger generation is going to be correct in some things. And there has to be that push and pull. But it's just going to be a matter of society learning how to function with things like Twitter, like social media, like the internet, because they're just not used to it. They just don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know how the internet really works. But you know what? Those are the people that people make videos about, right? They're like, hey, this, Karen doesn't know how any of this works. I love that meme with the three older ladies. She has that like wall of stuff, and the lady's like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. That's brilliant. That encapsulates so well
the internet
that truth
opens the world up in a way that a lot of people cannot handle. Because there's a lot of people with a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different life experience. And when you take somebody who's had a sheltered life in an enclosed space and has a certain expectation for the way people are supposed to live, and they go onto the internet and find out there aren't people living like that, oh no, God, my bubble,
Shocker.
An existential crisis. Everybody, I have to tell everybody that they're wrong.
Oh, don't you remember that meme back in the day? Somebody's wrong on the internet. Look,
Somebody's
you're
wrong
never
on the
going to sleep
internet.
again. Yeah, you're never going to sleep again if that's.
And it's to the point where people are discussing whether or not there's a psychological or an addiction problem when it comes to the internet. So.
Oh, I think that everybody that's on the internet has some degree of it. But again, we make our living off the internet, and I'm always doing something. I have tabs open galore. I'm always reading something. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. It just.
If Steve could live in a library, he would live in a library.
I used to be that guy living in the library. I loved libraries. I read a lot as a kid.
Come on! Like hundreds of years ago, parents complained that their kids were addicted to books. And then when the radio came out, they were addicted to the radio. Then when TV came out, they were addicted to TV. The video games came out, they were addicted to video games. Now the internet came out, they're addicted to the internet. Doesn't matter what comes out.
Okay. It's not a bad addiction. It's not like it's a detrimental. I mean, there is some dopamine, I think, that people get out of these things.
There's some for some people. That's why there have been studies. I don't know how extensive they are, but there has been talk about things like Twitter and YouTube's doing it now, and Instagram removing the number of likes showing on a post, or removing the upvote, or removing the downvote, or removing whatever, because there's a need to get more. People start attaching their value to how many numbers they get. They started, I'm only important if I get this validation from other people. And this has to do with people just being better at understanding themselves. People are shitty at understanding who they are because they don't take any, it's an assumption. They assume that they know themselves. They assume that they understand how they communicate. But if you ask somebody, hey, how do you communicate? They won't be able to tell you. On average, they won't know. They won't be able to tell you what bothers them, what doesn't bother them, and why it bothers them. They won't know these things.
Yeah, there was basically a Black Mirror episode like that premise.
Yeah. And I think that as we adjust, because the internet is such like a culmination of human knowledge, I think that given enough time, the education system will catch up to match the changes in lifestyle. Because right now, the education system is not adept at teaching people how to live in the world that we live in, because we don't live in the same world that the institution was built in. And so until that institution changes, you're going to keep running into these kinds of problems, because most high school does is put a bunch of kids with a bunch of hormones that they don't know what they're doing or understand anything about into a sardine can and say, deal with it and figure it out. And they do. And some of them get traumatized and some of them don't. And it's not necessarily the best way to do things, but it does happen. But that doesn't tell anybody anything about how to deal with something like the internet and the social media, and what to post and what to not post, and what is going to get you into trouble, and what are the consequences of behaving this way in this place, and say, et cetera, et cetera. So
look what happened with the elongated man with the Flash. So, I mean, he. And by the way, I did think he got a bum deal. People do make mistakes, and I don't think what you posted 10 years ago should matter. It should have been like, oh, okay, yeah, I posted some stupid shit.
It should matter too if nobody really knew about it and gets brought up to light. I think what matters more is how you respond to it now.
Yeah, well, he responded quite well. I think he got the shit end of the stick on that one, but yeah.
That's just my kind of.
But he was just trying to be, and I get it. He was trying to be edgy, and look, I have edgy stuff. I mean, I have non-political stuff all the time. But it was what may have been acceptable edgy wise, by the way, in the 80s, 90s, probably wouldn't fly now. Like I was telling Cheshire, I was watching Fluffy, the Inglesia guy, right? One of the funniest comedians of our generation. The guy legit is hilarious.
That's your opinion.
That's my opinion. He's hilarious. But some of the stuff he was saying probably wouldn't fly nowadays, right? And it's a different world we live in. And it's a shame because it's still funny. It's still funny. I'm gonna laugh my ass off.
The problem with comedy is that it needs to be looked at through a different lens, because a lot of comedy is about making a joke about problematic things. It's not making a joke of problematic things. It's exposing problematic things by making them and delivering them in a way that is digestible, that people can understand and contemplate later. So if you tell like a joke that would be considered racy, I don't mean racist, I mean racy, or a joke that's kind of like off color, or a joke that's like, it's edgy, it's kind of like dark humor, it's a joke about suicide or whatever. As long as you can break it down as a joke, because that's the other thing, is a lot of people will use, I was kidding, as an excuse after the fact. It's Schrodinger's joke. It wasn't a joke until you had a problem with it. Now it's a joke. Right? So if you run into that, but barring those situations and somebody is legitimately, again, I use Sacha Baron Cohen as a good example. If you thought Borat was racist, and Sacha Baron Cohen is racist because of Borat, you have missed the point. You have completely missed the point. The goal was to expose racism by utilizing a racist character. And he's not rewarded for being a racist.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of Borat. There's some funny scenes, and I think he's amazing as far as creativity. But I get what he's trying to do, right?
There's more than just that one character. He's done like the recent one he did, right? And he is not a racist person because he played a racist character and created this situation. That's not.
Well, back in my day, we had Carol Connor on For All in the Family. He hated playing that part. He was not everybody loved him. He was the antithesis of racist, but he played that part because it was demonstrating there was people like that, and he played that part to show people that. And even though it kind of wore on him, he did a brilliant job on it. He was one of the funniest, of that time. I'm a really big fan of comedians. I also,
though, by the way, do not like it when comedians complain about getting canceled when people just don't think they're funny.
Okay. Well, prime example. I mean, look what happened with the guy from Seinfeld, the guy that played Kramer. That was not funny. That skit was not funny. And look, I have an edgy sense of humor. Right. I watched this Korean girl have a stand up, and I was like, shit, this girl's funny. Probably wouldn't fly today. If she would have done that same routine today, she may have had problems, but it was hilarious.
You have to.
His shtick wasn't funny.
When you're a comedian, you are walking a line of what is and is not okay in your current circumstance. If you're looking at comedy, you need to judge it by when it was created, because comedy is about being currently relevant. Mm-hmm. There are some things that will remain relevant forever. George Carlin is a good example of this. But not everybody can be George Carlin, and George Carlin picked topics that were going to be the same forever. He picked certain parts of politics that were like, this is going to be always like this because that's just inherently the way government is.
Well, do you remember, it was probably before your time, but did you ever watch anything from Bill Hicks?
Oh, I know the name, but
Bill Hicks was way beyond his time. But Bill Hicks actually, the story with Bill Hicks is that he went on David Letterman's show, and he had been on his show many times, and he did a routine, and for some reason, David Letterman didn't like the routine. It was edgy. I've seen the routine. It was edgy. It was pretty violent. But it was Bill Hicks, and you it's one of those things, you know, when you're what you get, because the comedians, for any time of talk show, they have to give their skit their skit ahead of time. It has to be pre-approved. So his material is already pre-approved. But there was a big thing on Letterman that Letterman for some reason didn't want it, and they took that segment off the show, and they had a big falling out. He died like 3 or 4 months later after that. I think pancreatic cancer. But his humor wasn't for everybody. And for some reason, David Letterman just took offense to it, even though they talked about it. They had fun, right after the set, supposedly. And then years later, I think it was like a decade later, he had talked to Bill Hicks' mom and apologized. And he thought, after he reviewed the stand-up routine again, he said, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I did that.
Right?
Yeah.
Bill
Hicks was good. He was hilarious.
People
very
have their days
abrasive,
and stuff,
very in your face abrasive, but he made points. He was like George Carlin. It was about society.
Yeah, there's also something to be said for, like, comedy needs to sort of be treated separately. You can't expect comedy to sort of cater to everybody, or to not be to be treated the same way you would expect to behave in an office. It's not supposed to be.
Yeah,
if it was,
exactly.
Nobody would like it. It would be boring.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you want that?
It's not for HR. It's not. You don't play some of this stuff when you're at work.
If you watch the show The Office, they do not behave as if they're actually working in an office. You don't do that shit in an office.
I have watched that show. It's hilarious. But
if you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that is not how the people who work in a response unit, an LAPD response unit, actually behave. Do they get some of the logistics stuff right? Do they go out of their way to be accurate? Yes, but it's still a show.
But The Office, the reason people like The Office is because most people have worked in an office and they get it. They understand that this is such parody of it.
This is what I would do if I could.
Yeah.
It's cathartic.
Yeah, because people, if you like work in HR, you're like, oh no, this you can't say that. That's the point. That's to show people that this is probably not what you should say in a working environment.
Also, that in most cases, when it comes to mundane stuff and like a day-to-day stuff, and you're offended, a lot of the time you're choosing to be offended. It's your choice to be offended by something, and then it's your choice to do anything about it if you want to be active in some way, shape, or form. Of course, I would put things like systemic issues out of that. So if you got somebody just being racist and that's offended people, well, if you're being racist and you're being hateful, that's different than I made a joke and that one person over there is mad about it.
Yeah.
So if that one person over there is mad about it, that one person has chosen to be mad about it, because you don't have to be. You could just be like, nah, that comedy's not for me.
You know what I do when I watch a comedian and I'm not laughing? I find another comedian.
Right. And the thing is I think that there's enough people that they feel like they're entitled that any comedian should be funny to them. And that's just not how comedy works. Not everything is going to be funny to you.
I have my preferences. Like, I remember the first time.
Jokes will always be relevant.
Did you ever listen to back in the day, like Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor or any of those guys? I mean, you couldn't help lose your shit laughing. I mean, to the point it hurt. They knew how to make you laugh, and that's what a comedian is supposed to do. It's supposed to be shocking. It's supposed to be edgy. It's supposed to be uncomfortable.
I'm just not big on you've got a comedy sketch being done by a comedian who was very popular in the late 80s, early 90s, and maybe up to the 2000s, let's say. And then they get a deal with Netflix for like X million dollars. And then there's sketches them complaining about being canceled. It's like, you haven't been canceled. You just got a big Netflix deal. What are you talking? I don't like that sketch. It's stupid.
Anyways, Mr. Serious, you got anything left for us? We're going to be wrapping this up. We are going to keep this under a 2-hour show.
We kind of got off on what you were saying onto a whole different spiel.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could definitely, I could have talked a whole lot more about what I was talking about, but I mean, yeah, when it comes to comedians, I definitely got to say it's definitely all subjective. Context absolutely matters. You definitely should know your audience, and Dane Cook's never been funny.
Dane Cook.
Okay, the problem with Dane Cook was, and the reason why Dane Cook did well was because it wasn't what he was saying that was funny, it's his delivery that's funny. And so if you're not watching him and you're not like a high schooler, you're not going to think he's funny. But when you're in a high school and you're watching this guy pretend he's an alien on stage, it's kind of funny. So it's like that's what got him popular. It was like it was the kids. It was like there's an immaturity to his comedy, right? So when he was going on to like try and perform for adults, it just didn't fly because it was just supposed to be like it was dumb and memey. That was the joke. So like he kind of like ended up flopping because he had nowhere to go.
No, the world's worst comedian of all time, Tom Green. He's so bad you don't even know him. Yeah,
no, I know Tom Green.
And he's Canadian too, by the way. So he's one of your people. Never was funny. I never saw a damn thing he ever said that I thought was funny. I mean,
I got a kick out of when he showed up on Clone High. Have you ever seen that show?
No, I won't. Anything he's in, I'll just ignore. He's so not funny.
He cameos in one episode, and it's an episode about ADD and ADHD. Clone High got canceled. They're thinking about bringing it back. That show was ahead of its time, but also an SJW nightmare.
Oh. Well, I like those shows. Like I said, I'm not politically correct. I like the ones that
it's
SJW
really good. The premise of the show is that they've got a bunch of DNA from relative figures throughout history, grew them, like cloned them, and then they're all teenagers in high school. Because they have to grow up as clones.
Is that a cartoon or is that live action?
It's cartoon. It's like the same kind of cartoon as like Undergrads. Gotcha. It was around then. Yeah.
I remember that show.
Oh, Clone High is amazing. If you haven't seen it, you should absolutely watch it. The main character is Abe Lincoln, Gandhi. Like the three main characters that kind of go together is Abe Lincoln, Gandhi, and Joan of Arc. And it follows them for the most part. And then like the popular kids in school are JFK and Cleopatra. And the Fonz shows up and it's really funny. Yeah. Which is really weird because he's not dead.
Chemo points out Tom Green was married to Drew Barrymore. Well, did he actually marry Drew Barrymore? I know they were dating. Yeah, I guess they would maybe be married for a few minutes. But yeah, I don't know what the hell she was thinking. Gallus Scummer for £5. Steve, I'll see your green thumb and raise you one Michael McIntyre. Must be worse because I don't know who Michael McIntyre actually is.
Yeah, I've never heard of them.
So he must be worse than Tom Green because if I haven't heard of him, that means he's probably worse. Is that how it works? I'll have to look him up. And by the way, when we do this show, we will be using Google to look things up, and that's perfectly fine because we can't opine about everything.
Well, the Scummer says apparently the thing that happened was that Bill Hicks had made a joke about pro-lifers, and a pro-life group had taken out ad time on Letterman's show.
Yeah, I don't know the exact details. I don't remember. It could be the advertiser. I know this much. They told him that CBS practice and standards said that his routine couldn't be on air, which was a lie, because they've already approved it. It wasn't.
They had to pre-approve it.
Yeah, it wasn't pre-approved. The practice and standards didn't say anything about it. It was from the producers of the show, but I don't know if it had to do with adverts. So he might be right on that. But they did lie to Bill Hicks about that and had told him that it was about the CBS practice and standards at the time, and that was a complete lie.
One of the other things that you also have to be, I think the person who probably deals with advertisements and comedy the best is John Oliver. John Oliver was doing a bit and a little bit of a dive into TELUS, and AT&T sponsors their show, and he's like, "What are you gonna do, Daddy?" Oh no, money, Daddy. What are you?
Down here, it's General Electric. Westinghouse. These are the big. General Electric was like one of the biggest things around here. They ran everything back in the day.
Comedy's one thing, though. I do want to go back to what Mr. Sirius is saying.
Who's Mr. Sirius? Oh, the caller. Oh,
yeah.
It's a call-in show. I forgot.
Go back to it because it sounds interesting, but we got so distracted by comedy being its own. It's just its own thing. So you have to sort of take that as it goes. If a joke flops, maybe don't jump to racism just because you didn't think a joke was funny. Or even if everybody didn't think a joke was funny, sometimes it's just not a funny joke, and they tried and failed. But Mr. Serious, you're saying about people who are ignorant or willingly ignorant, and tell me more.
I mean, what I was stemming from, that was kind of a branch of what I was stemming from. It's something that actually I talked about with Claire on one of her streams before. And it's kind of like just like if you were trying to have a conversation with somebody, like, don't be so quick to shut the door on them. Like, there could be a chance of building a bridge. I really want to find more avenues to exhaust options for building a bridge. Like, I think you have to keep in mind about, don't be too focused on building the bridge, and think about who you're building the bridge to, and if that's somebody you want to actually have a connection with, because you only have so much time in the day. You only have so much effort. You only can exert so much effort. Is the person that you're building a bridge to worth that amount of effort to build a bridge to? And not everybody is to that, because that's going to be on an individual basis. I feel that if I can learn how to build a bridge to somebody who's like, well, I'm going to be as blunt and as insulting as I can when I say this. If I can learn how to build a bridge to a dum-dum, then the next time I need to build that bridge, it'll be easier. So I think
not all dum-dums are built equally, right? So I mean, you have different degrees of dum. So, see, look, being a dum-dum is not be all end all that a problem. Being dumb and arrogant about it, and being rude, condescending, and an asshole about it, that's a whole different ball game, right? I mean, I deal with those types all the time, and then they have the audacity to say that I'm like that because I don't want to tell them, and I don't want to waste my time with somebody who's not even at a first grade level. It's not that
there's also people that aren't building the bridge either. Like Dr. Cross in the chat just said, not everybody wants your bridge.
But
Dr. Cross, everybody wants my bridge. I got a suspension.
And also, yes, and as we said before, some jokes are just racist.
Oh, sure, no, but here's the thing. A funny joke isn't racist. A bad joke that isn't funny, that's going to be probably racist. It all depends on I mean, there's so many factors that go into it. It's ridiculous. I mean, like I said, the Korean girl that I was watching, I was like, holy shit, this is racist as shit. And she's hilarious. And everybody loved it. It was, it went over. But again, now this was back in like the 90s or something.
I'm reminded
and it wasn't
of the
Cho,
guy,
by the way. It wasn't, what's her name?
I'm reminded of the guy who's missing a leg making jokes about being disabled, and him being part of his bit is, I'm allowed to say this because I don't have a leg.
I don't have a leg to stand on.
Sometimes the joke is racist depending on who it's coming from.
Sure.
But back to what we were talking about. Building bridges. If you can build a bridge to a dum-dum, and that dum-dum doesn't want to build a bridge, you are never going to be able to build that bridge. The only way you can build a bridge is if somebody is going to build that bridge with you. They have to allow you to connect. And if they're unwilling to allow you to connect, there's nothing you can do about it.
Unless I can convince them to want that bridge too.
I mean, sure, but how are you going to communicate that?
That's my current
conundrum.
Yes, that's actually my current conundrum. That I don't have the answer to that. That is where
how do you convince? I feel like I would be concerned that if you were going to do that too much, like if you've got somebody that you really, really want to talk to, you think they're a great person, because then they're really worth building that bridge over. I'm not talking about crappy people who are dum-dums. I'm talking about somebody who's a good person who you really like and you really want to build that bridge to, and they're just not receptive to, for whatever reason. I would start with wanting to figure out how to convince a good person who just doesn't have the time, or a good person who is, at least they're a good person that you're just having a hard time making a bridge with.
Agreed. Dr. Cross says racialized jokes are not necessarily racist, though, and I agree. I mean, look, do you remember back on the when they had Jeff Foxworthy, Larry the Cable Guy?
We're back on comedy again.
Yeah, we're back on comedy. It's always going back on comedy first, and then you had who's the other guy? The guy the one was like, he was like, they arrested me for drinking in public. I wasn't in public until they threw me out. Hilarious. That it was a stigma of like the redneck kind of stuff.
Ron White.
Oh my God, was he hilarious? Way funnier than the other ones.
Way funnier than the other ones. He wasn't for me, but I also recognize that he wasn't really for.
You guys have the
Right, of
singers.
course.
You don't have the comedians.
Bitch, who the hell is Jim Carrey again? Who's Mike Myers? What? I don't know what you're talking about.
I wouldn't go with Mike
Comedy.
Myers. If you want to claim Mike Myers, that's fine. Jim Carrey, you should stop there.
I'll claim Mike Myers just because he doesn't really do stuff as much anymore. Doesn't mean he wasn't fucking funny. Austin Powers was hilarious. Bite me.
Yeah, he was funny. No, he was funny. But
Him SNL days.
But the redneck thing, that was because it was playing on a stereotype, and they were funny about it, right?
And there was like Larry the Cable Guy. Bill Engvall was the other one.
Oh, Bobcat Goldthwait was hilarious. Oh my God! If you ever listened to Bobcat Goldthwait album, when he unfortunately passed away. He was driving to Vegas, and I think that he had an accident, and that's how he passed. But his stuff was way out there. He's the one that like I hope you step under a gas truck and taste your own blood. Die! I want my records back.
Back to how to convince somebody that you're worthwhile to build a bridge with. And I think that's just a matter of leading by example. Be a good person who people want to talk to. If you're an interesting person and you're charismatic and people want to build bridges with you, let them come to you sometimes. If you're always chasing after them, you're going to kill yourself. And if you're trying to do that with pretty much everybody, you're going to lose your who you are as a person, because you're going to have to behave in a specific way for each individual that you're trying to connect with.
You see, Chesh gave a way more honest answer than the one I was battling around in my head. I was thinking just be dishonest. That was my answer.
By the way, I was thinking of Sam Kinison, by the way.
If you do that,
I have
you
to correct
are
myself.
being dishonest.
See, this is when you correct yourself. This is when you correct it. I was thinking of Sam Kinison. That's not Bob Goldthwait. Bob Goldthwait was the one that actually was dating that really amazing hot girl from
Steve is gone.
One of the other shows. But I was thinking of Sam Kinison. My bad.
I think
I was wrong. I was wrong. Sue me.
I think that if you decide that you want to be so malleable as a person that you're not really being honest with you're not going to be honest from the get-go, because you're going to cater so much to each person. It'll be like you're a different person to each one. And in doing so, if you decide you want to dedicate yourself to being that malleable, then you will get lost in it somewhere. And you won't know who you are anymore. Well,
no, I was saying that this is the way I was thinking about wanting to do it. It's that they don't want to bridge, I don't need a bridge to me for them to understand me for any reason. I don't want that to be the case. I want to convince them that they need a bridge to me for their benefit.
Then your best bet to do that is to be magnanimous. If you can be magnanimous and draw people to you, then it's never going to be you reaching out to them. It's them coming to you in that case. And to do that, you just need to be an attractive person to be around. So be charismatic, be friendly, be likable, be Dolly Parton. Be magnanimous.
I'm starting a fundraiser.
Go ahead and put a picture
of
Dolly
me,
Parton,
and then put a picture of Dolly Parton up. There's the before and after. I need all the money to get me to there, so I can do this.
She's legit considered to be one of the nicest people on the circuit for Country Western. Everybody says that. Nobody ever speaks ill of Dolly Parton. You're gonna you're done. You're just that's a way to ruin your career.
Your best bet would be to not engage with anyone really ever, and always just be the kindest person about everything all the time. If you can do that and you can sort of become that, and you're approachable, Dolly Parton's on a scale where she's not quite so approachable anymore. But if you can do that on a scale where you're very approachable, then that might be the balance that you're looking for.
Because I just want people to I want people to understand that they're being in the dark and not having any connection, people just having misunderstandings with each other, that doesn't get us anywhere. When people say things that
you want to become an advocate for understanding.
Yes, you also got to pick your battles, man. You can't invest all your energy in a no-win situation.
Well, no, but see, this is the thing. All right, let me give you a very, very specific example, and let me tell you one thing where nobody's ever going to win, because everybody is just never going to ever talk to each other, and this is never going to end. This is one very specific example. And all right, and it's very contentious right now, and it's never going to end. All lives matter, never going away, because nobody understands anybody else on this topic. Let me tell you what this is. Everybody says, let's go take like Shesh explained this before, and she's right. There's a fire over there. Let's go help these other people handle their fire. No big deal. The problem is that everybody feels like their house is on fire. Nobody sees everybody else's house. They're all worried about their own house fire. That's how everybody feels. So
yeah, but there is a disproportionate amount of fires in certain communities, right?
Nobody can see outside their house because of their own fire. But we can't pretend like they can see outside their house.
Change the analogy. I would actually change the analogy, because I think there are some people whose houses aren't on fire. It's only their own personal life that's on fire, which has nothing to do with like the greater scope. But in the greater scope, these people are worried that putting out the fire has to exist somewhere. So if we put the fire out over there, it's going to leap onto my house, and now my house will be on fire.
Oh no, I
think that's a legitimate fear people have. If
there might
these
be a fear,
people
but
are
that's not
treated,
how you feel.
No, it is. I disagree.
I mean, here that's not how you feel here where I live.
You've got people who are saying like, "Hey, Black people's houses are on fire," but putting out their house and covering their house in water isn't fair to my house, because now my house hasn't been covered in water. Because that fire is going to jump over to. What if that fire jumps over to my house because now their house is on fire?
That's not how it is where I live.
What if because Black people have rights, they're going to start oppressing me with those rights? Or because I'm not special anymore, I feel like you're taking something away from me. And that's like it's a weird mentality to be like, I want people to be equal, but I want to be special and feel like I'm special. And just because you're still treated, we're not taking you down, you're bringing these people up. But because these people are coming up, you don't feel like you're special anymore. And so you're scared about well, what happens to me if these people come up here? Nothing happens to you. You're fine. You lose nothing.
I mean, that's correct in a lot of places, but people aren't doing well out here. Nobody is doing well, and life, no matter, see, there's when it comes to like money and when it comes to things that make people comfortable, money adds a certain amount of happiness outside of poverty, and then it starts leading to depression. Like the more money you have, the more depressed
it's about like 100,000.
So it's not even like as soon as you get out of poverty, money stops even helping you feel good about anything.
It's so because, do you know why?
I've never had that much money. Like, I think it's because you just stress over having money or something.
It's not directly about the money. It's that money is directly related to your day-to-day health and your day-to-day comfort. So because you're so stressed about whether or not you're going to have a roof over your head, whether or not you're going to be able to pay your bills, whether or not you're going to be able to have food on the table, whether or not you're going to have, I got sick and I can't take any days off. It's the stress of those things that is caused by a lack of money. And if you have enough to live comfortably, so those stresses are removed, that's what that means.
I know why on that end. I don't know why on the other end. I mean, why more money makes you depressed.
Well, on the other end it's because it no longer has an effect on your life. Now you start feeling the stress of, I have all this money and there's pressure on me to keep getting more of it, and I have nothing to do with it. You now have much
also
of
people
this
start
resource.
Living outside of their means. I mean, as your level goes up, their means,
you can never
they go up.
down.
Yeah, and so and what happens is they reach that level, and all of a sudden they're not making what they were. Now they're having money issues. I mean, when you own a house, it's let me tell you, it puts a lot of stress on you. There's a lot of stress on you. What your mortgage payment is, whether you're super rich or not, you still got to make those payments.
This is what I see. This is what's happening in my neighborhoods. All right, we have slums. They're bad. But we have slums of quite literally every race. And it sucks.
Sure.
And it really, really sucks. And the last thing that is helpful, at least in my area, is to exclude one being stomped on minority from another. They are all being crushed, and all of them are seeing it. And when one is getting attention and the others aren't, the ones who aren't feel it.
So,
and
but it's not a zero-sum game, though. And I think that's the problem.
But see, that's where it all comes from. Is because that's what it feels like to them.
The part of the problem with that is that you have in some places, I'm not going to speak for your particular place because I'm not there. I have to see it a little bit more for myself and maybe get a little more information to be able to actually analyze whether or not this is the case there. But I have seen places that you have a situation where white people are voting for things that go against their own best interest because fuck that guy over there. Because they're so, like, in their brain, they're like, even though this is good for me, I'm not going to acknowledge that this is good for me because I'm part of this group, not part of that group. And so I would rather vote against that group than for my own best interest because it will benefit that person too. But fuck that guy. And so because human beings are dumb, this isn't something that's exclusive to white people. This is humans are stupid and they get taken advantage of. And they get taken advantage of by their government or their local politicians to say that, hey, listen,
religious leaders.
It's right, religious leaders. It's me and you against those people. And so you vote for me, it's against those people, but they're going to do stuff that's against you too because you're in a different place in the caste system, like in the poverty line. So you've got people who are in poverty voting against things that are good that are going to help them while they're in poverty because fuck that family that lives over there because they're going to get that help. And I don't want them to get that help without realizing that they're shooting themselves in the foot. And so you've got this weird conundrum where you end up with a race war instead of a class war. This is like, yes, redlining was racist. And now you have poverty districts. And those poverty districts tend to have more black people in them than white people in them because the redlining. But now you have a poverty issue in this area. And over time, white people have moved in there, black people have moved in there, Hispanic people have moved in there. Whoever is in poverty is living in there. Now, inherently, it came from a racist point. But now the people who are in there that aren't black are voting against things that are going to get rid of the problem in here because they're things that are class issues. But rich people are telling people, the white people, hey, don't vote for this thing because it's going to be bad for white people when it has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with poverty.
Trump voters.
I mean, I'm specifically just talking about, I'm not so much talking about like the voting specifically. I'm just talking about people who, like, quite literally, if you talk to them, they would agree with everything BLM stood for, except for they would always want to say all lives matter because of three, not really three specific things, but because of very specific things that have happened in this area involving segregation and what happened during busing. Like right now, we're doing pretty good with like mixing neighborhoods up when it comes to like Section 8 and stuff like that. Like we have stopped as a state making like racial slums finally. So that's good, but like we don't separate. We're not separating each other anymore, and so we don't want to get into that anymore. Like we're trying to be together.
Part of this comes from being fragile and having different understandings of what racist means. If I called somebody racist in the 50s or the 60s or the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, it means something. This is a word that has changed over time. You can say, hey, that thing was racist, and people are thinking lynch mobs. No, I'm not talking about a lynch mob. I'm talking about this term. Or no, I'm not talking about this term. I'm talking about this status, or I'm talking about this particular thing. There's a nuance to the word racist now. It means more to it than, oh, I'm putting a burning cross on your front lawn. I'm not saying that doesn't happen anymore. I'm saying that racist embodies more now than it did. Before, it was saved for the very, very particular, very, very horrendous behavior.
Hold on a second. Hang on. Leo in the chat, I gotta correct this. That's completely 100% wrong.
Well, no, I happen to agree with Leo on this, so you could correct him, but I actually agree with Leo on
in my state, that's not true at all.
But
I've met one person in my state who says that and agrees with that.
Leo says all lives matter is just a proxy for I don't care about black people getting murdered in the streets by cops. The whole BLM started from the fact that, statistically speaking, a black person was more likely to get killed, have their weapons drawn on them, and be killed in custody over a white person exponentially so. Matter of fact, I watch a lot of these videos. I watch a channel called Police. Police. I just talked about last night. Not Police Auditing or Police Academy, but it's something or other, and it shows all these. It shows all these shootings, right? And I'm serious. I was watching one, and I thought about this white cop, white perpetrator. She was like, "Put down the knife. Put down the knife. Put down the knife." Must have said it 50 times. Put down the knife. Put down the knife. Finally, pop. For a black person, we've been put down the pop, 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 pop.
Do you know first off, every situation is different. There are bad cops all over the place.
That's not
the
argument.
I have to be able to finish this thought.
Let me help you build a bridge, though, Mr. Serious. I'm going to help you build a bridge.
I have to put up my structure first.
No, well, what I'm
been saying ever since for like a decade.
But your structure is not what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to help you. Exactly. That's the point. You're starting your structure in a bad spot.
Foundation's not there.
I haven't gotten there.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I know where you're trying to get to. I believe in you. I think you're a good person. I think you're going.
You don't know.
I think you're going to a good place. But when you start with that kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? If you start with that kind of disclaimer, you're going to put people on edge. You're going to put, you want to talk. No, you're talking about wanting to build bridges. And so if you start with that kind of a sentence or that kind of a caveat, you're going to raise people's hair. They're not going to listen to you, and you're not going to be able to build your bridge. So what I'm recommending is that I understand what you're thinking and where you're going, but what I'm going to say is that you may want to start with a stronger structure. Start at it in a better position if you want to build bridges.
Well, no, this is what I was going to say. All right. Mm-hmm. First off, everybody out there, Mr. Erickson for racist, that's an idiot thing to say. You guys need to actually have some charity, like exercise some charity for like 5 seconds. It's really important. I've been saying this for about over a decade now. When you pay cops Burger King wages, you get Burger King cops. We got a garbage police force in this country, and we train them like garbage. And this is exactly what you get when you do that.
Can I push back on that?
Now, some cops do get paid a lot.
You know, they make they make over 6 figures. Some of them make $100,000 to $200,000 or more. Most. No, that's
not most.
You can actually go look at their how much they make. If you're a government, every place has them. They make quite a bit of money, so it's not a matter of pay. And it's now I do think there's training issues. Yes, absolutely, there's training issues. And we had mentioned earlier we mentioned. I don't know if you watched it yesterday, but we did a show with I did a show with Shorter's Cat, and we talked about that cops should have better psychological training, better mental health training. Right, to recognize people that have mental health issues, so they don't kill them. Rather than try to de-escalate. De-escalation should always be the number one priority.
There's also, I'm just going to give pushback from a different angle, because if that were the case, then their treatment of people would be equal. It wouldn't be directed in one thing. If it was only about money, if it was Burger King cops, then they would do a bad job across the board, not a bad job in particular areas.
No, they do. They do a bad job across the board.
Well, in general,
across the board. They are racist across the board. They're too nice to white people, and they're terrible to black people. They are racist across the board.
Which is a result of not the pay. That's not a result of how much they're getting paid.
That's a result of racism, systemic racism.
We would get better quality people if we were willing to pay better people to do the job.
Matter of fact, I actually understand the defund the police motive, and I think there's something to be said for it. It's not a matter of money. You throwing money at something doesn't always solve things. The money that could go into the police force could go into the infrastructure, and you wouldn't need as many police, right?
That's the idea.
And that's the idea behind defunding the police. It's putting the money in the infrastructure, into the feeding the hungry, the homeless, mental health facilities.
It's resorting the resource. It's taking the resources and spreading it out in a way that's going to be constructive for slum areas and for areas that are poor, and for helping out in those areas, so they're not going to have to resort to crimes in the first place.
Yeah, and it's getting rid of, or at least changing the way qualified immunity is done. Cops have so much, lessened liability if they do something wrong because of qualified immunity. Now that doesn't mean that if they make a mistake, an honest mistake, they should be penalized, criminally prosecuted for an honest mistake. But some of the things that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of these videos, I watch a lot of them. These are blatant racial motivated violations.
And, I mean, there's this negligence.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, and we're going through this whole trial with the George Floyd thing now, and and it's hard to watch that video and not go, this guy is fucking killing this guy. This guy is not a well-trained cop. He is committing murder in front of people. It's hard not to reach that conclusion. And I think that is the correct conclusion to come to. And if he doesn't get convicted, I think there's a serious miscarriage of justice. But that's not a payment. That's not a money issue. That is this guy was trying to kill this guy, subconsciously or not. Nothing that he did was in police standards.
That's not the only problems I think exist, but I think that these are major starting points. I don't think we're going to get quality people that we can count on for the menial. I mean, I don't know where you're getting your numbers about how much. I mean, I guess they might make that much money.
Because I watch the videos and they show how much the cop makes. And it's $140,000 a year.
60 hours a week.
And by the way, some of them are $200,000 plus with benefits. They get all these benefits, and most of them are over $200,000 a year because of benefits.
If they're working 70 hours a week, sure, but if they're not working that much, I don't think so. I don't think that's happening.
The problem is this sounds like an excuse. The amount of money somebody is or is not getting paid should not dictate whether or not you murder somebody on the job.
I completely agree with that.
It wouldn't be acceptable in any other case. Why would it be? If you're not getting paid enough from somebody in a fire department, does that mean you don't work as hard just to save the person?
We have way higher standards for the fire department. Way higher.
Oh, then the issue is standards, not pay.
But it's both. We also pay more for people who work at the fire department. They have to.
What's the difference?
They have to be a person who volunteers for sometimes years with no pay before they can even work for a fire department. So they got to work for free for a long time.
The national average. I looked it up. The national average annual wage for a police officer is $67,600 a year, and in California it's $105,000, 220.
Mm-hmm.
Alaska is at 87, which is almost at 88, and that's the top 10, going from California, Alaska, New Jersey, Washington, Hawaii, Illinois, New York, Colorado, Delaware, and Nevada. Nevada being the lowest on the top 10 at 73,660.
We're going to have to table this, so we got to move on. Unfortunately, we got another caller here, and we're way over.
The lowest is 1 to 10 is Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, South Carolina, West Virginia, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, and North Carolina, ranging from Mississippi being the lowest at $36,290 to North Carolina at the highest at $47,340.
Do you know where your argument would probably have more weight?
In my state,
is talking about teachers. Teachers
in my state, they don't get paid anything. That's where.
No, your state was in. Let me reopen it. Yeah, your state is Kentucky, which means they're in the top 10 lowest, but they're at 46,720 in Kentucky, and the lowest highest is 73.
Yeah, and that's still probably got benefits on top of that. But I think his argument is more applicable to teachers. The more you pay a teacher, the better teachers you're probably going to get. That might have a truism to it. Because teachers are severely underpaid.
I think pay does matter to a degree, the same way it matters in any job to a degree.
Oh,
if
sure.
you don't have to stress about stuff outside of your job while you're at your job, if you can have paid sick days, if you have these benefits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I think that is good.
But training is your number one thing.
Training is your number one thing. And this is just not a good argument, because it does not matter how much how much you get paid should not affect whether or not you murder someone.
Right. It's a bad argument. I think it's a really bad argument. It's like saying if it paid more, they'd be more ethical.
This is my argument. There are reasons why somebody would want to be a cop, right? And one of those is to be just to have the ability, power. Mm-hmm. But there are people who would do it if they could afford to have a family doing it. But if they can't afford to have a family doing it, they won't. They'll do something else. But there are some people who are like, who cares? I'll get the power. I don't care how much money I get paid. They'll do it every time.
But this is okay. So this is a structural problem, though. If you're going to talk about whether or not if you want to have a family, then your job prospects, being a cop is not a good fit for somebody who wants to be a family man. Like you're doing a dangerous job. You're doing a job where you're putting your life on the line. That is not, and you work weird and exhausting hours, and you deal with very stressful situations.
But there's nothing wrong with that for a family. Military is the same way. I mean, people have families.
But and I'm not saying people don't have families. I'm saying it's difficult. There are people who
some jobs
want
are harder on
families
families than others.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So if your mental state going in is I want to have a family, police isn't going to be on the top of your list in general anyway. Right. It's not saying you can't have a family. It's just not conducive to these situations. Now, if you're saying that, if we pay government workers enough that they're the best paying job out there and you're going to get the best people, that it's really just not the case. What gets you the best people is proper assessment and proper training. And so I don't say that cops shouldn't get paid more. Depending on where you live, that very well may be the case. They may deserve to get paid more. But whether or not you get paid more should have zero impact on whether or not you decide to kill somebody. It's your training, your education, and your value and as an employee or as an individual, and what your psyche is at as an individual. That evaluation that's going to be whether or not putting a gun in your hand is a good idea, and whether or not. But what you have is cops on top of cops protecting cops and expecting this behavior from cops. So if you have one cop doing one thing and that cop rats out this other cop, this cop's fucked, not the one who did something. So you've built now a system of cops that are very, very much tribalistic in a way that, we can't sell out another cop, or, we can't put that cop in jail because if we put him in jail, he's going to get the shit beaten out of him by all the people he wrongfully put in prison. So there's this, it's a systemic problem within the police force. It's a problem that you can't throw money at it to get rid of it. Money is going to make it worse, because now you're going to have good people who don't want to do these things being forced into positions where they feel like they have to, because if they rat out the dirty cop, they're going to at best only lose their job, especially if they have a family that they now need to protect.
Do you know what the pay to play thing is with cops, and like how that works, where they get military issue things? You mean like a precinct wants military gear? Well, it's like this. The military will give a precinct gear, and if they don't use it within a certain amount of time, then they have to pay for it. Yeah. So that means they have to use military grade equipment, or they have to fund the bill for it. Like they have to use military gear on citizens.
I don't have a problem with that.
Like that's where I would cut the money. I would not be doing that. I don't think anybody said. I don't think anybody said to take any money away from police officer individuals. Yeah. Cutting funding doesn't mean officers don't get paid all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah. That's not what it means at all. I mean, again, a lot of the problems would be if they just had better trained police officers and put the money into infrastructure a lot. I think that's a critical thing. And I can't emphasize that enough.
The goal, it would be to make police officers' jobs easier.
Yeah, they would have less
made
crime to police. You know,
the society is better.
If you had less,
in
if people were less homeless, with less people that were mentally unwell on the street, they got the help that they needed. You wouldn't see a lot of these people getting executed in the streets because they're coming after someone with a knife. I mean, like I said, I've watched numerous of these videos. Somebody has a knife in their hand going after cops, and you can tell this person's probably not mentally well. They never got the mental help they needed.
If you approach it from the angle you're approaching, you're not going to get what you're looking for. If you want people to understand that cops serve a purpose and benefiting the police can be a benefit on society and prevent police from doing things that are like murdering people, stuff like that, then the angle that you want to take is not going to be money. That's not going to help you. And saying, oh, there's good cops, there's bad cops, all that does is justify bad cops.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, that's not a good.
You don't want to go down that route of argumentation because you're going to. I know you're not like this, but you're going to come off in a way that you're not going to intend, and it's going to shut down conversation. It's going to shut down whoever you're talking.
You have to listen about you have to listen to the perlocutionary act that the person is understanding you and the person's hearing you. When you say things like that, it's going to come across as very unintentional, but they're going to shut down the conversation. And
so what your better argument is, just from a technical standpoint, is going to come from because it sounds to me like you agree with quote unquote defending the police. But what you're saying is redistribute the resource management. So pay police officers more, but remove this other thing from them to give that money to the police. Because additional stress on police is a bad thing, right?
Yes, and their training is garbage.
Yes, well, we all agree upon that. And how about we leave it with that? We're all agreeing on that. The training is garbage. Let's get this last caller in because we're running way longer than expected. But Ms. Terry, thank you for.
Shows always do.
Yeah, I know.
Well, let's talk about stonks.
How about that?
No, don't start that again.
All right, thanks, Mr. Serious. Appreciate it, man. All right, who's the other caller on the line?
Hello.
Who's this?
Hi, Steve. Hi, Cheshire. There were 3 people talking, so I didn't know if I could talk.
Yeah, that's fine. Now, who is this?
Silas Says.
Simon,
how you doing?
Simon Says?
Yes, I'm good. Cheshire, please, may I see Puck?
Oh, he's not with me right now.
Wait,
I'm sorry.
What's his name, Chesh?
Silas Says. Silas Says. Yeah.
I called you on.
Yeah.
I called you on Caffeine Corner one time.
Yep.
Okay, I think I'm gonna spell this wrong, but we'll give it a shot. Okay.
SILASSAYS.
Oh, I butchered the hell out of it. Don't let me be doing this stuff, man. Don't let me change the name. Yeah.
I don't really have anything to say. I just wanted to welcome your new show and wish you much success.
Well, we appreciate
thank you so much.
That was very nice.
I'm really sorry Puck isn't here. I'm visiting my mom right now, and he is not with me at the moment.
Oh, I think you should show Puck a lot because I really like him.
Bring him as much as I can. I need to get a camera just for him, I think.
I just wanted to ask one question. Is there any way you guys could still do Caffeine Corner and do both shows?
We'll probably sort of end up doing that. We actually ended up doing a lot of call-ins with Caffeine Corner, so I think what's going to probably end up happening is we'll end up doing a bunch of call-ins. We'll end up finding a topic during those call-ins that we're like, we got to talk about this. This is a thing that we need to do a regular Caffeine Corner about, and then we'll just do one of those instead of the call-in. So we'll jump back and forth when it's necessary into a Caffeine Corner, I think.
Oh, okay, I see. Because I really enjoyed Caffeine Corner.
We did too. Yeah. No, we'll probably do an episode every now and then of Caffeine Corner. This is, I think, as somebody once said, this is the natural evolution of the show.
We do have one super chat from Dustin Moser for 10 that says, Steve Chesh, I apologize for dumping into the later part of the stream, but I was wondering if you ever encountered a person named Darth Dawkins.
Really? Yeah. Really?
I never have.
Yeah, no, I know Darth very well. We go way back. Yes, I do know Dustin. I know Darth quite a bit. We've had our brush ups. He is a presuppositionist moron, to say the least. And yeah, if you go back, go to a channel called Darwin's Greatest Hits. He has a lot of videos on Darth Dawkins, and I'm in a couple of them.
Darth Dawkins is a big jerk.
Yeah, Darth Dawkins, aka Evolution Falls, aka Dancing with Hyenas. Yeah, he's something else, man. He's in a different league of troll like nobody else.
Okay, well, I'm going to go now, but I just wanted to let you know that I really enjoyed the new show, and I wish you much success.
Well, thank you so much. We look forward to hearing from you again sometime. And yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good, especially like having Mr. Serious and OPT calling in. And I think we got some great callers. I think we got some great topics. I think there's a lot to talk about. So I look forward to having you guys drive the conversation a little bit more, and it'll be a good time.
I agree.
Okay, bye, you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, so let's wrap this up. We are gonna take that name suggestion. I think Judgment Call is primo. Props, and I'd be a fool not to take a good suggestion. And Cheshire likes it as well. So
yeah,
I will redo the intro, and that's not that difficult to do. And then once I do it, I'll probably get it done sometime tomorrow. We're gonna ask our audience to help promote it, help get the word out there, get it in Facebook groups, get it. On if you have a YouTube channel, get it on your community page.
Help us spread the word as much as possible.
Help us
please,
spread. We want to spread. Both of us want to spread a lot. So just spread us everywhere. Take us and spread us. I mean, make us like Vegemite. Just put a spread on bread. By the way, I gotta try that. I've been told Vegemite is really good on toast. I don't think so.
Do that on one of these episodes.
Yeah, no, and I will. Well, I'm taking suggestions, right? People told me grape. I got it. So I've been told by Atheist Pastor and a few other people that Vegemite is not as bad as I remember it to be. Doubtful. It was horrifying. It smelled like yeast and vegetable decaying matter. But they say it's really good on toast. I'm going to try it. So maybe on the next time I go shopping, I'll pick up some Vegemite and take suggestions for people to have me try things.
Chris Foster for $14.99 says, Steve Chesh, hope your weekend was better than mine. Family and I were involved in a serious car accident. Hope all is well. Thank you for keeping me entertained in the hospital. We hope you're okay.
Yeah.
Please give us an update. Please give us an update that you're okay down the line. We wish you well. Hopefully everything's okay. And
I'm almost scared to drive it. I don't drive it anymore, but I am going to get my license.
Hopefully,
I want to travel. But
I screwed by insurance.
I'm scared to drive nowadays when I hear things like that, man. I know people are just shitty drivers, and it's unfortunate that innocent people get harmed from it. Yeah. So hopefully your family's okay.
Dustin Moser for 5 says, thanks for the response. I'll check out that channel. Have fun.
Which channel was that?
Yeast and jelly sandwich. Oh God.
Judgment Call won't spread itself. Exactly.
Yay.
Yeah. Things don't spread themselves. They need help.
Anyway, thank you all.
And we don't do well with self-promotion, but we're going to try to change that with this particular stuff. So anyways.
Yeah, go spam us everywhere and annoy the crap out of everybody. Cool, thanks. Go leave our video in comment sections of people's YouTube channels.
Yeah, no, I don't think we can do that. I don't think we can say that. Don't take our advice on that. And yeah, as we said, legal advice, legal, moral, ethical, financial, medical, psychological, anything like that. Don't
personal.
Take our advice. Yeah.
Don't listen to us. There's a reason why I've gotten surrounded by fire and hell. Don't listen to me ever.